Hugs looking the other direction entirely. It's a potential ace here for Nesk as Yuna's left to push his way down Freezer all alone. So much intel for him to gather. He does swing, find one. Really making that SMG 12, sorry, pay for itself. He's now looking to try and push a little bit further, but with the diffuser cold on the ground, it isn't going to be easy for him. You can tell he's working off no intel just from how rapidly he's peeking everything. Who's going to pre-fire? It's going to be PSK. Picks off that headshot there, landing his shots when it matters. Just checking he had a bit more ammunition left in the magazine as well at the end of things.
Really limited at the end there, and I was kind of rooting for that to go in the way of Black Dragons, just because, you know, after getting the kill onto Nesk, it's like, all right, you got rid of the boss. Now, you know, I want to see you win this out. I want to see you pull it back in your favor, because now Team Liquid, Ponto Decisivo, otherwise known as Match Point. I actually thought that could have gone the way of Black Dragons as well, because the real notable parts, of the defense that were a problem for them back in round number 7 were removed. And I mean, for me, that's the Goyo shield and the player behind it that was looking into Freezer. The player was removed by a flashbang. It's always a nice day in Siege when you see a flashbang used for its actual purpose rather than to clear utility. And then the Goyo shield was actually blown up as well. So immediately that part of control removed from Team Liquid. But Nesk just went Super Saiyan, and actually his kill onto Potoxi was real proof of what I was talking about back in round number 8 about Team Liquid having really good traits. Because the way that Potoxi pushed up, he thought he could take advantage of a situation that he'd helped create, but instead Nesk was in the ideal position to actually stop that in its tracks. And it was at that point that Black Dragons kind of lost the momentum in that round, because Nesk just carried it away and just completely, I don't know, blew everything apart. So Team Liquid probably had a harder game so far than they expected, but they are on match point. That means all they have to do is win this next round, and they will take the 3 points that are available for the victory.
We haven't seen Black Dragons get anything other than a win or a loss at this point. I know that might sound strange, but we've not seen them go into an overtime. We haven't seen any of their games be split in terms of the points in sort of a 2-1 fashion. So Black Dragons would have to take us somewhere they haven't been before if we were going to see this go in their direction, as Liquid have, at this point, confirmed at least 1 point and the potential for a match point. They haven't looked troubled here on the defense, and Black Dragons are yet to find a round on the attack. Things really haven't been going in their favor at all, and despite kind of unexpected performances on the side of Liquid, are still coming home with the rounds. I haven't seen the best game in the world out of Palu, particularly seeing as we gave him a big shout out in the ratings. In fact, it's been Nesk to step up to the plate and to really give that value to Team Liquid. I am going to be underneath, trying to put a bit of pressure on him, puts a lot of shots into Moringa there. The skeleton key chunking away half of the Smoke's health. You can't pick who you're going to be getting your damage onto, but that isn't a bad one at all. You can see that the players on the side of Liquid are scurrying. They're trying to get themselves out of this pressure.
Very similar to what Team Liquid did on their attack back in round number 5. Live gets the opening kill with a grenade. That's onto Palu, who, as you said, we would usually expect to be popping off, but mostly it's been Nesk this time round. He's going to be the player who's looking down through the slats. Doesn't quite get the kill that he was looking for, but he can pass that information on to the rest of his team. But Live just adds a second kill onto his count. Nesk ready to trade it out, and ooh, PSK narrowly missing the next kill that he could have had.
Looks like a plank could be attempted here. Hugs hasn't got a great deal of health left. Another impact nade could do it. No, it's going to come down to a swing, and the swing will be done by PSK. That's the diffuser cold now in an equal 3-3. 35 seconds left. Long angle being held there as the kill comes in from Ion onto PSK. Nesk and Sexy Kate got a lot of work to do here. No C4s remaining, aside from the one in Sexy Cake's hand, which is going to miss as Yuna locks in that plant. Nesk finds one onto Ion, but then swings for Patoxy, and the control of White Stairs is sufficient. The crossfire established here by the attackers is going to be enough to grab them their first round here on the attack, as Patoxy picks up that final kill onto Sexy Cake. A really good post plant, just holding what they needed to in order to achieve the round.
It's really a testament to how much playing Buck below on this site works here in Brazil, I guess, because it's happened for both teams now. Actually, funnily enough, back on round number 5, my notes just say perfect sexy Buck, which I'm sure at some point I'm going to look back on and wonder what the hell that's meant to mean. But, I mean, Black Dragons had really, really similar result here. Either way, they had a win, and you could tell that the way that Nesk was trying to get the kill down into kitchen from above, he was really struggling to do it because he didn't want to put himself too much in harm's way. And then when Black Dragons were focusing a lot of attention upstairs, especially around the plant that they were trying to make just by Big Window, that prevented Team Liquid from having real free reign of being able to push forward. Even though they denied the first plant, there were still crossfires being held because that's not what, you know, the places that Black Dragons could hold those crossfires were not places that Team Liquid had put a ton of attention. I mean, notably the top of White Stairs, which is what made it hard for Sexy Cake to move forward at the end there. So it was a bit scrappy, but it still was a nice round from Black Dragons, and they really needed that. I think not just from adding numerical points to the board, but also from a mental perspective. After having such a strong, dominant first half against Team Liquid, especially looking back at those first 3 rounds, and now having just lost 4 rounds in a row to them, they needed to show themselves that they could bring it back. And the fact that they had nice trades and Patoxy was playing better, for example, just suggests to me that Black Dragons had already identified those as the problems they were having in those rounds and knew they needed to fix them, and successfully did so.
That's the same angle that Yuna was holding when Black Dragons were on the defense. Obviously downstairs, I believe it's the corridor between sort of kitchen and meeting, and those back corridors there, and just seeing if there's anyone going to be carelessly rushing their way on through. No book on the side of Black Dragons this time. I'm not sure if they were anticipating Liquid to go somewhere else, but Liquid have kind of called the bluff a little bit. We saw Liquid play successfully and defend successfully down in meeting, which I believe would have been open for them if they wanted to, but instead they've chosen to come back upstairs to dorm, so obviously feel as though they've got some sort of unfinished business here. But with no book on the side of Black Dragons, it is going to make things a little bit trickier, as that was something we've commented on and said is probably a large reason to the success of that attacking push, just how much pressure was able to be applied vertically. Instead, Black Dragons are now going to have to try and figure things out on the fly. Look to try and take control of Attic, which, as we've seen, can be quite a difficult prospect. Yuna going to go for the full burn, and a nade going to follow in from live. Nesk full white flash, along with Paolo, I believe. Second nade coming on in. But something isn't clicking for Black Dragons, as that shield is still in place. All the players are still 100% health, with the exception of a bit of chip damage over onto PSK, but he isn't even inside of the attic. So a lot of utility there gone for nothing.
Yeah, actually, what I wanted to say was the fact that Black Dragons bought 6 flashes and 4 nades, which is really good because all of the ADS were invested in one spot, which means if you can burn those out, get rid of the shield, you still have nades left over that you can use elsewhere. But given that it didn't work when they tried to use those nades to get rid of the shield, they're now not in that position. Nesk getting caught out by one of the air jabs, but won't be caught out by a member of Black Dragons, so he will live, at least for now. There's some of those smokes coming out. We're actually heading into the final 30 seconds already, and all 10 players are still alive.
I really worry about time here for Black Dragons. They haven't got a great deal of it at their disposal, and we've already seen how good Liquid are with their utility. Yet more stun grenades and frags coming on through. 2 big kills. A plant going down in the midst of smoke. Hugs can't make it stick, finds some safety, and instead tries to make it happen. Nesk, 1 versus 4. He needs 1 kill. He needs to take out the planter, but no, he's going to go the long way around. He's not making it easy. He's found 2. 3 more to find. Can he do it? Nesk's been going off this entire game, and if anyone has a chance, it is this man right here. Nesk, you've only got to find 1 more. Goes for the pre-fire. Hasn't got a great deal of ammo left in the clip. Hits the reload live with a swing. Probably the most important kill you're going to see all night. That is enough for Black Dragons to take things all the way.
Oh my God, Nesk nearly clutch acing. I honestly thought he was gonna do it. You said that was the most important kill of the round. I think that's probably the most important kill of Live's career. At least here in the 2021 season of BR6. My God, Team Liquid was so close to taking that round, and now, we're into overtime. We spoke at the start about how Black Dragons games are always really quick. We wanted to see something a bit longer. They heard you. They answered. They're doing it right now. Black Dragons, they just came in with such a slew of kills, and it looked like it was just going to be a complete flawless round. Nesk getting those 4 kills at the end. Man, oh my God.
I have never seen...
That's all I can say. That's my analysis. My analysis is, oh my God.
It really is, though. I have never seen that many kills chained together with an SMG-11 like that.
No.
Like, in that sort of time frame,
so
which
clean.
honestly was about 10 seconds, if that. The sort of speed and the cleanliness of the kills. Unreal stuff. I genuinely thought he was going to take it all the way.
The kills.
They were clean. They were cleaner than Simon's shirt.
What about his skinny jeans?
I think they've seen better days, honestly. I think they're in the bin now.
Well, anyway, that was all Black Dragons needed. That 1 kill from Live to take this into the overtime that they required. Now, Black Dragons start overtime on attack, which has proven to be their weaker side. So automatically Team Liquid have the advantage from that. The other thing too is that Team Liquid have shown good adaptation. However, so have Black Dragons. I said about a lot of the mistakes that we were noticing in rounds 7, 8, 9, that first half of the second half, if you will. They got cleaned up quite a bit by Black Dragons in the latter half of the second half. So actually it's going to be a bit of a war of adaptation, or it's going to be a war of Nesk against the world. You don't know. You don't know. It could be either.
Either or both.
Yeah.
Nesk at the minute is kind of putting the team on his back a little bit, and with a bit of contribution from elsewhere, we could have seen this game said and done. Instead, Black Dragons have dug deep and they've found enough rounds to take us to an OT. Came away with that sort of 2 rounds that they required after a good defensive phase. And now we found ourselves once again attacking onto Freezer. Somewhere that we have seen mixed success for, and it usually relies on a big performance from someone on the side of Black Dragons. Liquid not going for any sort of roam game whatsoever, instead focusing solely on this objective.
Black Dragons are trying to be methodical. Have an approach coming in from Laundry, and it looks like 1 player looking down towards... actually, maybe 2 players coming in from Freezer as well. You can see Team Liquid just trying to play a little bit further back. Moringa not wanting to be caught out when the Vulcan shield goes down, as it has now. Remember Patoxy before, when trying to approach this push in on Freezer, did get caught out by Nesk in a crossfire. So he'll likely be looking to be more careful about that and using the support of the rest of his team from other parts of the map to aid him. Nesk is looking to get both the kills, though. He gets 1. He does get the second as well, and a third, too! Nesk going crazy as Black Dragons finally make their push, and it's just kills in and out, leaving just Yuna on his own.
You say just Yuna, but he's managed to find himself two. He's got himself into a 2 versus 1 yet again. We're seeing this 1vx situation for Yuna. Who other than Nesk to pick that final kill up? Back-to-back 4Ks for this guy right here. He's seriously going off tonight for Team Liquid. That's going to be enough to confirm round number 14. Sides are going to switch here. As Liquid, they have to attack, and they have to win if they want to take Oregon.
Whew, okay. You know how the other day we spoke about Cyber playing on Villa for FaZe and how he was doing so much of the work because he was just playing out of his mind? And then since then, it's just been, in most of our games, there has been like the Cyber curse. It's not even a curse, but like the Cyber charm has just been passed on to different players of different teams. Today, Nesk is the one playing with the Cyber spirit. You know,
He really is.
He really is. And I certainly don't want to put down Yuna either, because he did really do well in that round. And it's a difficult position to be in when it's just you on your own. He's playing on the Dockerby, so not necessarily there to be a fragger. You know, he hasn't got the fraggiest weaponry. And, you know, I'm a personal Dokkaebi hater because I can't use any of the weapons that she has.
I thought it was because you hate fun.
Oh, no. I mean, she's fine as an operator. I don't have a problem against her as an operator. I just can't use her. So, you know, it's not the easiest job in the world, is what I'm trying to say, especially when you're outnumbered too. So the fact that Yuna actually did so much with that round, regardless of being in that disadvantaged position, is quite impressive. But it does mean that Team Liquid overtime match point. As you mentioned before, however, Black Dragons are now on defense, which has proven to be their more successful side. And they really made mincemeat of Team Liquid in a number of rounds back on the first half. I'm having some war flashbacks of maybe some meeting drops that didn't go so well. Team Liquid getting a nice team kill and suddenly being out of sync. We don't need to dwell on it. Team Liquid definitely shouldn't be, if they want to get themselves together to actually win this round.
I guess tonight has answered one question we could have had from Team Liquid, and that is that if Palu doesn't show up, who else is going to step up? Now, we know it's a talented roster, but Nesk has firmly thrust his hand into the air and said, it will be me. 21 kills, 10 deaths. The guy is going off here, and it seems only right that we make, you know, a big deal of that, as, you know, we like to gas Palu up in his ratings, but I think there may be some room for adjustment in there once the guys get their hands on the stats after this game and figure out, you know, who is going to be exactly where. This is a big round here for Liquid. Questioning the Kali being brought to attack onto a basement. Obviously, you don't know that you're attacking onto a basement, but you can give it a good guess. We haven't seen Cade played at all tonight from any of these teams, and even if we did, Maverick is a constant bring on the side of Sexy Cake. Meeting hatch has been opened. Moringa just giving it a little cautionary look. Not choosing cheeky peek, but you don't really go anywhere near it. I wouldn't be going anywhere near it. Nesk's got himself onto these rear stage stairs. Is he going to find yet another? Gets chunked down there, but deals a good bit of damage to Live in return. The opportunity has arguably passed now for Nesk, because he can't really peek onto that for a good couple of seconds, as he is going to be only a couple of bullets. He needs pressure to come elsewhere, really, for him to be able to make anything happen here, and so far that pressure is slow to come. From blue is really where we're going to be looking toward, as we can see Toxic Babe canisters and 3 bodies all lined on up. Live with a horrible bullet hole angle, which is unlikely to be pre-fired or challenged. Live doesn't really have too much health to be going in a head-to-head engagement either. Nesk going to stroll his way down the stairs. Live, are you just going to let him get all the way down? Nesk, what are you able to do here? Finds himself a freebie. Live's going to be scratching his head as to how this has happened. It's still a 3 versus 2 for Liquid. Make that a 2 versus 2 as kills continue to flood. A team kill on the side of Black Dragons. Oh dear, there's only 8 seconds. Have you even got enough time to get the revive off? Impact nade gets tossed on out. PSK, you have to thirst for this kill. It was a trade. Geo, it goes to Black Dragons.
Oh man, in the last 20 seconds of that round, I had no idea what to expect. Absolutely none. I mean, Nesk got downed, no withstand, so he can't do anything about it. He had to wait for PSK to get it. PSK gets a nice kill. Suddenly, that man advantage is switched back to Team Liquid. The fact that Live didn't use the bullet hole he had, and Nesk just had free roam to walk down the stairs, that is the thing that confused the hell out of me the most. Because as soon as you give Nesk free space, you let him get a kill onto one of your teammates. No, you can't do that. That's bad. But Live did then get at least one kill after that, and we had the constant back and forth. That really nice impact from Iron to finish Nesk off, and then the trade at the end went in the favor of Black Dragons, and thus boys and girls and everything in between, or not on the male to female spectrum at all, we are going to Max OT.
I don't know if I can cope, Gio. Second game of the night, maximum overtime again, and really through no fault of any of the teams that we've seen play. It's just been standout after standout. Individuals stepping up and really showing us what they have got and why they deserve to be the best in Brazil. And honestly, at the moment, if you ask me who the best team in Brazil is, I would not be able to tell you, because we have seen some wild stuff over the course of this season. And whilst the standings give us an indication, judging off what we've seen tonight, there really is no clear answer.
Mate, I did an article about it, breaking down all these stats between FaZe and Liquid. I calculated the standard deviation of the cost, or the average cost on all of these teams, and suddenly I feel like everything, all my research has just gone out the window, man, because I can't tell anymore.
When you showed me that article, I told you that it was Ints, because Ints are the last team to beat FaZe.
Yeah.
And that remains now until we see Ints play again over the course this weekend, which will be at some point. But for the time being, what a display from Team Liquid and Black Dragons. Both going at it. Black Dragons now on the attack, so arguably the more difficult side, and attacking onto the meeting. This was a flawless round back when we saw it, as Liquid play this site quite aggressively, all centered around PSK on the dock. He's going to play next to that A-bomb chassis until his dying breath, stim pistoling himself up with utility, and really going to look to try and cause a problem for Black Dragons. They might know where he is, but are they going to be able to deal with him?
All right, I'm getting ready. I'm so jittery. I'm just so excited about this round. This could go either way. So far, no opening kills have been had. Remember, this is a meeting bomb site, so even though Team Liquid have defenders upstairs, that's Palu up in the attic, they are there to hold a vertical defense rather than because that's where the site is. Black Dragons look like they're preparing to push into the site, just burning out some of the ADS, and PSK is ready. Remember where they went to plant before? It wasn't the most orthodox position, and it looks like they're going for it again.
Nades have come on in. Hugs might get this plant down. Last time we saw loads of utility being thrown in that direction to deter the plant, but no, PSK's even been downed in the process. Sexy K's trying to get himself up rear stage stairs, but he triggers the air jab. Unifines one onto Palu. This isn't looking good here for Liquid. Patoxy with the back push in onto Moringa, and all the while the time is ticking. Nesk, he's been the standout player inside of this game for Liquid. Can he do anything? Can he go huge? PSK, great headshot there over onto Hugs, but as the kills come through, Black Dragons crack meeting, and they are going to take this map here of Oregon against Liquid.
Yeah, they may have cracked meeting. They've also cracked Team Liquid, denying them the 3 points to launch them further in their lead. And Black Dragons just proving what they can do against this team. What a fantastic game of Siege we just got to witness. And wow, all the way to Max OT. Even just in that last... Oh, look at those 23 kills for Nesk. That's illegal. I mean, just all the way through that last round, even then, we saw so many of the changes that got made by Black Dragons to facilitate that attack. Patoxy's positioning the last time they attempted it was my big gripe. The way that he was holding onto Meeting Hall and let it go allowed Moringa to get so much control. But this time, he was out in security corridor. He could sneak in through kitchen and get those kills before Team Liquid had the opportunity opportunity to push up on the attackers. It was just simple changes like that that allow Black Dragons to take this off of the so-called best team in Brazil, because we don't even know who that is anymore. But all we know is we had a freaking amazing game to watch.
I mean, who even is the best team in Brazil? I don't know if we can answer it. We'll have to see if Jackie can answer it. He asked for Oregon, or more specifically, he said, we used to see a lot of Oregon back in the day, you know? Well, we saw quite a bit of Oregon there. We hit a max OT on Oregon for you, Jackie.
It was good. It was good. Now, fun fact about Oregon, Ollie, right? It's actually home to the biggest mushroom on Earth. It's huge. It's been there for a very long time, but it pales in comparison to the size of the balls we saw on Nesk throughout that entire game. Because this is ridiculous. Like, how do you even deal with it? You said when Palu's sleeping, Nesk turns up. He's just an all-night party machine. The SMG round was disgusting. The amount of frags just tied to him alone it's unbelievable. But they just still couldn't get it over the NGO.
No, I mean, because so much of it, you know, we saw Nesk just play out of his mind. And in a lot of the rounds where he did, it was enough to win. I spoke before about how so much of it was because he was in great positions to get trades. That was something that Black Dragons struggled with earlier on, especially earlier on in their attacking half. But Black Dragons made a lot of adaptations to do with their positioning when they went back to certain sites. So even though Nesk was playing really well, as time went on, Black Dragons were making those opportunities less abundant for him, but also punishing the people around him way more and not being as punished by him. And so at that point, I mean, even the kills from the top 3 players on Black Dragons were all in the double digits as well. So not all Nesk.
No, very true. And yeah, from talking from clutch attempts on both sides, really, you've got to look for Hugsword, right? The 1v4 attempt, the down but not out disaster that it was, came very close to picking that round up. That was wild, Ollie.
Yeah, I mean, imagine if the scoreline had been a bit more concise and that round had gone the other way, and Liquid are VOD reviewing that round and going, your head's in your hands, like you're looking at it like that, kind of watching, because you're just so terrified of what you're seeing. Hugs had a standout performance. I think it was on the side of Black Dragons, there was multiple people that really pulled together in that same direction. And Yuna as well, he was left in a lot of tough spots, but still able to do a bit, you know, and sometimes it was enough, sometimes it wasn't quite, but it really was a game that came down to clutches.
He's doing another bit as well. He's going one step further. He is going to have to talk to me. Simon has wrangled him, and we're going to bring Yuna on for an interview to see how he's feeling after what is a huge victory there for Black Dragons, taking the win over Team Liquid. Yuna, hello, mate. It's been a while. How you doing, brother?
Yeah, I'm good, and you?
Yeah, good, man. You're looking different. Not as pink this time.
Yeah, I changed back to the natural.
It's working. You're getting wins with it.
Yeah.
I did want to ask, right? Crazy game, obviously, taking it the whole way to overtime. We know in the past that Liquid, they've struggled a little bit on Oregon at times. This is one of those games. You came in, you had a really solid start. It was nearly a 4-0 in your favor. Hugsword, obviously, with that crazy clutch attempt. I imagine you were sitting there, obviously, biting your nails at that point, thinking, this is a great opener.
Yeah, we start a really good game, but after the 3 and the fourth round, we start like choking a little bit and lose some rounds where we got like open deaths. So I think when we keep calm and don't die in the early round, we can win the round. So we try to do this and come back to the game.
And obviously, the longer it went on, we saw that being a bigger result for you. This is huge, though, in terms of the overall standings, right? This does a lot of damage to Team Liquid as well. They've still got a couple more games throughout the rest of this week, so at least they've got a chance to bounce back. This is a big upset win to get. It's a nice amount of points. After this, what are we looking for? Is there a final ruckus for Black Dragons? Obviously, the last 2 play days coming up. Are you looking to really solidify your place in the standings towards the end here?
We came strong to the last 2 games. We need won these games for being the 6 to Elite 6. So we are going back to win these 2 games. We are going back to strong. We need this. So.
Well, hopefully you can get it, brother. It's been good to speak to you again, mate. It feels like it's been far too long. Before I let you go, though, any final words, anything you want to shout out?
I want to say thank you to everyone who cheers for Black Dragons. Thank you. See ya.
Lovely stuff. I hope to catch you playing a bit more Finker in the future. There he is, the main man. Well, guys, it's always good to catch up with everyone, really. Again, I do just feel quite happy. This is like a day out for me. It feels like I've been taken down the park. Yeah, I've just been sat indoors, you know, watching, but now I'm back and I can ask them really annoying questions about hair, which I'm sure everyone loves. But everyone must have loved that game. It was a good one.
Oh my god.
I'm really quite happy that we got Oregon, to be honest. I didn't know if I'd cursed you, Ollie, but I'll take it. Oregon was good.
It's not a curse. I don't mind a bit of Oregon. I said to Gio, it's been a while since we've seen it. And especially when it goes all the way and it's as exciting as that, you know, both teams, there was no sort of criticism from us in terms of like, you know, struggling for time on the side of the attack. It was all action from start to finish. So it was really enjoyable.
Yeah, I suppose the one final question I'll throw out then before we start to get ready for the next game. Gio, in terms of what this is actually going to do for Liquid, right, results-wise, we're getting close. We're towards crunch time now. This is an unlucky result to take. I mean, Oregon's always been a map that they've been a little bit iffy on in the past. Do you think this could knock their confidence for the last couple of play days?
Knocking their confidence, I'm not sure. I think Team Liquid have been through a lot of ups and downs in the past, which have would have maybe had bigger likelihoods of knocking their confidence. I think that they're enough of a veteran team that things like that, they'll be able to get way back on track from mental knocks, maybe more so than a slightly less experienced team. But from a numerical perspective, what they've essentially done now is even themselves out with FaZe Clan on the number of points that they can get this weekend. Because FaZe Clan only had 6 points available to them this weekend, because they're only playing 2 of the 3 play days. Because Liquid got 0 today, they now can only get 6 as well. It puts them way closer to FaZe Clan in who's going to get that top spot. I think that's way more of a concern for them. And I don't think Team Liquid are necessarily a team who I expect to be super affected mentally, but they will need to just kind of recenter themselves and remind themselves of who they are, I guess.
Well, hopefully so. It should be easy to remember. It's on the shirt. That's what they're there for. And of course, the next game that is going to be coming up should be very exciting as well. Lots of high-flying, flashy jerseys on this one, as we've got 2 sexy teams that will be stepping into the server. W7M going up against FaZe. That'll be our third best of 1 that will be going down in a few moments. And we are back, ready to leap into our third matchup of the night. It's flying by, isn't it? Game 3 already. These best of ones, man. They're gone. They're just like that. They're like the quickest pastry on the planet, Ollie. Do you know what that is?
It's a scone, Jackie.
Yeah, scone! You have to put the noise on. You have to do the sound effect to set you up for that.
Oh my god, it's
Come on.
called a
Gio
scone.
would have done the sound effects.
No,
Scone.
it's
Here
a
we
scone.
go.
It's a scone.
Well, a joke doesn't work if you call it a scone.
Well, then your joke was crap.
Thank you. I pride myself on crap jokes. That's what I do. But I tell you what isn't going to be a crap joke. This next game. It's going to be good. As they all are. Every day, every week, every month of the year. It's Siege. It's always good. It's always enjoyable. And this one should be a tasty affair. We're going to play the game from last series. Producer Simon. Play of the game. I was going to say, this is such a ridiculous...
They're going to get to see our gameplay.
Yeah, I was like, this is such a ridiculous curveball he's thrown in. We're doing another game out of nowhere. Producer Simon's just goofing me. All right, Simon, show me the play of the game that you've thrown on me. I want to see it. I can only imagine, of course, it is going to be the SMG madness that we saw. It is Nesk, so I'm already tantalised. I've been bamboozled by our producer, much like, of course, Black Dragons were in this round, Ollie. The sheer speed was just audacious.
It's one of the best quad kills I've ever seen, without a shadow of a doubt. And you just, I think, if even if you're a Black Dragons fan, you've kind of got to be rooting for him to get that last kill there, just because it would have made for an insane clip. Now, I'm just a fan of Siege, so I can root for whoever I want. But in that instance, I was really cheering for Nesk to hit that final shot.
That was the round that took them into overtime. Black Dragons needed live to win that. Otherwise, that would have been it.
But call yourself a fan? I don't know.
I just want to see Nesk. That's all I do. I turn up and I basically just crop my monitor so I can just look at Alu and Nesk all day. And occasionally Sexy Cake. Right, well, let's get into the rosters for this one, though. That's enough teasing about the last game. We'll start looking at the future. And, of course, the first team we're going to be looking at is W7M. A side that you shouldn't turn your nose up at. They had some good results back into last season. Obviously, a couple of roster changes here and there, but some of the big names are still in the team. And that's why I'm excited to see. Herd's already exciting me. Gui as well. Name that I haven't said in a while. Padrim. A lot of firepower in this team. They're quite explosive. They were always a bit audacious in the style of play that they went for. Sometimes could be a bit unorthodox. Gio, what are we looking at here? Is W7M still a dark horse of the tournament?
Yeah, W7M had a bit of a slow start to this stage, I must say, but it was really in the last couple of Playdays that we've seen them come alive a bit more and have that really characteristic playstyle that you mentioned there, Jackie. I mean, one thing that just absolutely fascinated me a lot about their attacks onto NIP is the way that they set up their aggressive pushes onto the site. They would save all of their air jabs until right at the last second, place them in the middle of the site, and then push. And it's like you're gambling on these players still being alive and this working. And you know what? It did work. It was great fun to watch. And you just don't see that from other teams.
Sometimes you just got to trust in the heart of the cards. And that's what they did. They went full Yu-Gi-Oh! There was no bad cards in their grandpa's deck, Kyber. And that's why it always works out well. 100% undefended win rate in Battle Monsters. Let's have a look at their opponents, though, of course, as this is another side that you should be excited to see. Seasoned squad with a lot of explosive players coming back in. FaZe Clan. So many huge names here in the Brazilian scene that it's physically impossible to not get excited when you see them out on the server. Ollie, it's going to be big here from FaZe if they turn up. This roster is huge.
I think it has to be big from FaZe, Jack. You know, if this was a fixture that we were looking at a couple of weeks ago, we maybe wouldn't give it too much of a second glance. We'd go, yeah, FaZe should have that fairly comfortably. But last week, FaZe lost to Ints. Now, Ints sit at the bottom of the table, and that was a bit of an upset that I don't think any of us could really see coming. And then before that, they lose out to NIP in an overtime loss. So FaZe haven't been perfect so far this season. Beyond, you know, the far from unbeatable. And I think that speaks largely to some of their consistencies on their players. We often talk about Cyber being quite big in terms of kills and stuff like that. He's had a fantastic game, but in the grand scheme of things, there's a lot more contribution that we need from other players. Someone else who's done quite well is Souls. I think if Souls and Cyber have a good day, this could be made a little bit easier for the side of FaZe.
Definitely some big names in that team that need to show up to give them the extra edge. It felt like it was always firepower over strategy with FaZe, so it's interesting to see that that is still a similar storyline. Let's have a look at the overall map veto for this one, though, and see where exactly we are going to be going. Is it back to Oregon again? Can I do it twice in a row?
That would be funny to see. Well, Coastline we're definitely not going to.
No, it's very true. Clubhouse is gone as well. We can't sit up in the tree.
It's looking more and more likely, Jackie, honestly.
We're getting there.
We're getting
We've been teased. But it is fine because, of course, we still have Chalet. Oh, that was good. It's like we just won a reasonably priced car. I like that. That was fun.
You're not wrong.
Ollie,
Who's the star in it, though?
You've just won a brand new Chalet, Ollie. How do you feel?
I'm ecstatic. I can't wait for take it for a spin. Do I get the snowmobile as well?
Yeah, of course.
You can if you want. You can take it all. We'll put the whole thing on wheels, mate.
You get all the wine too if you want to celebrate.
You know what? A chalet would be a great prize. You've got wine, you've got a snowmobile, you've got a big fireplace. It's got it all.
Probably some cheese in the kitchen.
I would imagine so.
Almost definitely.
But what cheese would it be? That's the question. Hit us up on Twitter, of course. Hashtag BR6. What cheese do you keep in your fridge? That's the question here that we're asking.
I mean, you've asked now. So
Usually Gouda. Gouda's the, or as the Dutch say, like Gouda, or however you pronounce it. I say Gouda because I'm British. I say Gouda, but like it's Dutch, and Hap used to get really mad if we said it wrong, and you know I'm haunted by it. Yeah, Gouda.
Oh, yeah. Producer Simon's just making noises in my ear now. No, you just you just say it firmly and strong. You stand your ground. You say Gouda.
Gouda, please.
One
mate.
Gouda, please. You make sure you lock eyes and you let them know you're here for the Gouda. Well, there you go. That's enough cheese talk. This one will be a Gouda affair, though, of course, and the consistency of cheese puns. It'll be quite a lot like mozzarella, because it's going to stretch far. All of our games have been lengthy. They've been OT bonanzas. Wouldn't be surprised if we get another one out of this, but of course, that's going to harm FaZe far more. They're the team that need to walk away with a win here tonight. Ollie, do you feel like with the map choice, the stage is set for that to become a reality?
Oh, I'm not too sure. We've seen FaZe play on Chalet before, and it was a little bit ropey for them.
We'll see if it will still be ropey here. I thought there was going to be more. But will this be the end of the rope? We'll find out. Let's get into the game.
He's so desperate to look for a pun in anything. It's like my worst nightmare.
Everything is a pun with Jackie.
I hate puns. I really hate puns. I've never met someone who dislikes puns as much as me, so it's really causing me a lot of discomfort right now.
I guess now that you've said that, it's probably only going to get worse for us. So all we've got to do is just smile and wave until tomorrow. Tim will be back, and then everything will be fine, okay?
Yeah, normality will have returned.
We are going to jump now into our third game of the night. W7M versus FaZe Clan here on Chalet. Second time we're seeing Chalet tonight. And at the start of Super Week, could that be a sign of things to come? We've seen a little bit of Chalet throughout the course of the season, but maybe teams have been saving it for this moment in time, Gio.
Yeah, this is the new Oregon, where like you see it all the time. It's just going to be just Chalet. And we're going to lap it up because it's new and it's fresh. And then, you know, by next stage, we'll be like, please, no more Chalet. But the thing with Chalet actually that's really exciting, and this is why I actually didn't mind when back in EU last year when we had just tons of Oregon, I didn't mind it then either, because it was still fresh to the map pool. You're seeing the development of the strategy of the map happen in real time. Whereas like when we get a lot of Oregon days now, we know how to expect Oregon to be played. We're not really seeing much new. Chalet's kind of like that right now. So even if we get a bunch of Chalet, we're still seeing new things. Teams bring out like their individualisms. And I mean, especially on a game with FaZe Clan playing, FaZe Clan who just go for these absolutely ridiculous strategies. Hello, breaching garage door on Consulate from the inside. Hello, their double mirror setup on Chalet when they were playing Team 1. FaZe Clan like to do some spicy stuff, and W7M, we already spoke about having a really unique playstyle, so actually put that together on Chalet, and this is probably going to be something that's really exciting.
We did, of course, see FaZe Clan play Chalet back against Team 1. It was an 8-7, so it kind of speaks to the way that the games have been going tonight. And obviously, I mean, a scoreline like that, you can tell without me having to say anything that it wasn't a clear-cut affair for FaZe. They did struggle here. Now, I imagine that they've got a good reason for choosing to come back here now. But that was a game that, if I remember rightly, we saw Cyber and Bullet struggle quite greatly, particularly on kills. Now, we've since seen Cyber improve his performance somewhat, but still not as consistent as I would imagine he would like to be, or as consistent as he has been previously. So, questions tonight over if FaZe are going to be able to keep up performances that they've given in the past, because whilst they've had plenty of wins, there's only been a handful that have been fairly convincing, and with the way that the last game went, I can imagine they've got their eyes set on a full 3 points out of this one.
What I'm going to be really looking out for is how much the entry affects these two teams. Astro on FaZe Clan has the best entry stats for them at a +6, but when you look over at W7M, Herds typically plays their entry as well as playing a lot of roamy things. He's playing Smoke right now, but regardless, he actually has the worst KD, or he has pretty bad KD and a pretty bad entry, both of which are negative. And so I think that could really come to hurt them if FaZe Clan can exploit that. In fact, Herds was the first player on W7M in this round that we saw take a ton of damage because he was getting aggressive at a window. If you don't think you can take those engagements, FaZe Clan are not the team to mess with in them. Now, he is obviously still alive for now, but I just think it's worth bearing in mind for the future rounds and the rest of the game.
Especially as the Smoke, you want to be trying to keep yourself alive to ensure you've got those Toxic Babe canisters when they are at their most valuable. And that is, of course, in the last few seconds or as a push comes through. You really want to deny a ton of access for some attackers. Padron so far has done a really good job of soaking up a few nades, but is going to come face to face with Cyber. Keeps himself alive for a good deal of time. We do get a bit of pressure here from Gee, and that's a great little bit of teamwork from W7M, really causing a ruckus on the clash. Kills did go in either direction previously, though, as Cyber and Souls have already fallen, but Padron back on the site on the clash. Astro looking to try and stick the plant. It looks like it's going to go ahead. Oh, by a hair's breadth. It will be confirmed. Bullet now trying to hold on. He's at the bottom of library stairs, I think. They know exactly where he is. At least Guy knows where he is. He picks up the final kill. Plenty of time to disable that diffuser. Good first round there from W7M.
It seemed a little bit cocky from FaZe Clan, if I'm totally honest, especially the way that Cyber was aggressing onto Padron. He kept pushing the Clash back, which is totally fine. You need to be meleeing the Clash if you want to have access to the feet, which is how most people are going to land a kill onto her. But then when she turned around, allowing yourself to be hovering in the library door without considering that there is a player behind that wall and that there would be a player there for support from W7M, which in this case was Guy, that was a little bit short-sighted, and I think probably too confident in the fact that he was going to collect that kill and wouldn't really need support and wouldn't really need to worry about those things. Same as when the plant was going down. There were so many players from W7M who were still alive, and FaZe Clan just decided it was still in their interest to make the plant despite that fact. If there's one thing that I would say about FaZe Clan, it's that after the loss they had to Ints, they can't overestimate their own ability anymore. It's all well and good having really good individual stats and having really solid players, and yes, in the past having shown some great coordination and strategy, but teams are going to start figuring it out, understanding the way that you play, and in no position can you just sit and look at teams that are lower down the scoreboard and assume you're going to overcome them, because that's simply not how it works. And it's the second that you stop giving respect to your opponents that you start to lose against them. FaZe Clan can't afford to have another loss, least of all against a low leaderboard team. They've already had one against Ints. They need to be playing a lot more cautiously as it stands.
And if we think back to the Cyber game on Villa, it was really down to a standout performance from Cyber. And kind of Astro alluded to that in the interview afterwards, that was what happened there, because there was a couple of things that really weren't clicking for the rest of the squad. Now, W7M have arguably got a decent start here, just in the fact that they're on the defense. Not only the fact that they were able to pick up round number 1, but Chalet can swing a little bit further toward this defensive side, and we've spoken about this particularly in the first game of the night where we were back here on Chalet, and that is that, you know, it's a map that's quite large. Gio, I feel like you are speaking things into existence here. Hertz finds himself taken out as first blood. I imagine he was getting over-aggressive somewhere near a window.
I would believe it. Kurtz is going to do the same thing, though. Just completely drop it. Oh, no! Bullets punishing him. I couldn't even get my words out. I was going to say completely dropping down and getting that kill in revenge, but couldn't get back over the window frame to find refuge inside. Panico adding on to the kill count for W7M as well brings this to a 3 versus 3. What a strange sequence of events and some kills that, to be perfectly honest, maybe didn't need to happen.
Certainly as Kurtz, as the smoke, I spoke, about how valuable the Toxic Babe canisters are. It is a known thing to be getting yourself out there into that line of fire. Sure, you're not to know that there's a guy holding you vertically, but that's the level of coordination you need to expect from a team like FaZe. Now, it might be an equal 3-3 in terms of man count, but we do have Padrin on the clash. Now, does that make it advantageous for the attackers or the defenders? Well, it all depends. The main thing to take away from it, though, is that for the most part, there won't be a defender with a gun in the hand. Instead, they will have a shield. Panico does something to level that out, though, taking down Astro. So it's safe to assume the advantage was firmly with the defenders for the time being until Cyber decides to swing. The defuser has now been picked back up. A nade going to be thrown as an impact, but it won't be netting any kills. Cyber going to try and make his way up Solarium, cooking a nade as he goes. Probably trying to put it onto Padrin here, or at least force him out. Very well cooked grenade, but unfortunately doesn't quite have the length on it required to get all the way to the clash. With only 15 seconds left, we can see that FaZe are scrambling. Both players rotate into either side, desperately trying to find some sort of a cross. Guy takes down Souls, and with it, the diffuser. Now dropped cold on the ground outside of the building. Guy with the second must have had some intel. Mr. Last Kill coming in right now. He's picked up both the last kills in rounds 1 and here in round number 2.
Hey, would you look at that? That's 2 rounds on the board for the team who you wouldn't necessarily expect are going to win. Where have I seen that before? Oh, wait, that last game. Kind of similar to that as well. W7M looking pretty clean so far, and seeing those last 2 kills from Guy is really nice as well, because he isn't somebody who really statistically has shown up. He currently sits with a cost of 57%, which is pretty low. He also has a KPR, that's the number of kills per round on average, of 0.49. So that's less than 1 kill every 2 rounds. That's pretty low to see. But one thing that Guy has proven to be is actually quite an effective flank watch. And he's done that in some interesting moments as well. Now, obviously, flank watch is a role that you would most commonly attribute to the attack, and you would have them on things like a Jackal or a Nomad or a Gridlock if you're going to be going crazy. So it's not really a defending role, but you can still kind of do a similar thing. You know, if you are accustomed to looking out for a certain kind of play, you can still attribute that to one side or the other. And this is something that Guy did in that last round. He was watching key rotates that the attackers could make and caught 2 of them out at the end in the process. That is exactly the kind of job and the kind of objective that you would be looking to achieve when playing that sort of role, and when that's the way that you think about the game. So even though his statistics on paper have not necessarily been the best, and he's not always the guy who you expect to get kills, he still certainly has value. Now, what the hell has happened to Panico?
Well, he seems to have found himself in a bit of a pickle. He's got himself down, but not out. Doesn't look like he's going to be able to get revived, as Guy's going to try and get to him, but we're also going to lose Herds in the process. This could be where we see FaZe take huge advantage as Nade tosses on in. Padrin going to be able to, I think, push it back out with the shield, or maybe it hit the ledge. Either way, it didn't make its way on in. FaZe still with an early advantage, not only in that opening kill, but even though Panico's been revived, he's got a lot less hit points than he would have done. Kurt's going to be playing a very tight angle there, as we see defenders kind of scramble. They're going to need to try and cover more locations, especially when spreading themselves between both top and bottom floor.
FaZe Clan have a lot of time to play with here. And a lot of room too. Panico might find himself getting caught out here. Who's going to make the shot? Oh, it actually will be Panico. Cyber taken down. A really key player from FaZe Clan who we've spoken about quite a lot and really heralded. Can be exceptionally effective when he needs to be, and that's also the sledge gun. Astro will be joining the kill count as well. W7M getting their revenge on those early kills. Panico again, Panico for a third time. FaZe Clan don't seem to be able to stand a chance against this man. Now it's just Souls on his own. A great player, but how effective can he be when it's just him and he's going up against these three from W7M? Admittedly, one of them is DBNO'd, and maybe he'll be able to finish off that. He finds it. He gets Gee. He doesn't know that this last player of Kurt's is down but not out, but he's about to die anyway. It's just up against Padrin. At some point, Souls and Padrin are going to have to face each other off, unless Souls can catch him out from the feet before that has to happen. That's what he manages to do. Disappointing that FaZe Clan lost so many players up until that point, but Souls was ready to avenge.
I think Panico might feel a little bit hard done to in that round. From the start that he had, to be able to pull it back and come out with all of those kills in such an impactful way, and then for it to be a 1 versus 2 and for Souls to come out with the clutch. Now, that's no slight against Souls. He's one of the best players, for my money, on the side of FaZe. Very consistent in his performance. But God, that's got to hurt if you're a W7M fan, because that one really could have been the start of a nice little streak there. As it stands, W7M still have an advantage here, but getting a bit of an idea as to just how that clash can be dealt with. And it's fairly recent change that melee and the shield will cause the shield to drop, and then you've just got to get a couple of shots in onto the legs. You can do that a couple of times, and all of a sudden you've gotten yourself a kill. Not good from the side of W7M, and a bit of a clutch required from the side of FaZe. Still by no means convincing.
I do wonder if the clash is a bit of a crutch for W7M. My point being, if FaZe Clan start to consistently bring the clash down and prove to be able to counter her, how much are W7M relying on that being in their defensive lineup to get victories? As soon as you have to make an adaptation on your operator lineup, is that going to significantly affect W7M in their ability to get wins? They don't have to find out the answer to that just yet, because they've brought clash once again on Padrin. In fact, what I would say the biggest change that W7M need to make at this point is get Herds off the freaking windows. Playing so aggressive really early is hurting W7M, because he's getting caught out in engagements that he doesn't need to be. If he had been alive in that late round when Souls was popping off, maybe W7M would have had the angles they needed to stop that from happening. Maybe Kurtz could have been resurrected when he was DBNO'd. You never know. That's why you can't afford to throw away lives early on that simply don't need to be ended.
W7M trying to spread themselves across this top floor. Padrin playing outside on the clash there. He's going to eat a bit of utility from Zephyr's lifeline. Gee got the mirror facing in towards Library, but otherwise fairly exposed from the angle. Not playing the double mirror, instead just opting for a single mirror and a bit of a rotate hole to peek through. Opening kill once again for FaZe. Herds falling short. You've got to start thinking about switching things up a little bit here. A smoke dying early is really going to be detrimental to W7M, and they could do with that utility at least alive in the late portion of the round, but it will not be the case here. Cyber's actually got himself all the way in, and could have a nice challenge onto Guy here, although does he know where Guy is? Guy's done quite a good job of actually moving off the mirror window and going into the more unpredictable spot. He'll find one onto Souls. Can he hit his shots? No! The wall bang from Cyber. 3 kills came in prior, though, for W7M, leaving it all to do here for Cameraman and Cyber, now left in this 3 versus 2.
We've seen these two players work together before, and they can work magic when it's just them on their own. Decent amount of time, as they have just under a minute. They don't have to panic too much, but they are outnumbered, and that is still worth noting. Cameraman's going to send in a Gemini, and that should aid Cyber with some information from what is happening in the site below. Just being careful and slow for now. Doesn't want to give too much away with sound cues, just looking for any of those opponents.
Ooh, Panico comes in. That's a huge kill there over onto Cameraman. Cyber gets an important down once again. Is this clash providing the value, or is it going to get dealt with? Constantly meleeing the shield, but Cyber knows he can't focus solely on the clash. Actually gets the panic knife kill onto Padrin, but it's likely at this point that time will run short, and Cyber knows that. The diffuser's cold, and he's going to have to try and recover it, but with only 2 seconds left, he isn't going to be able to get it and successfully get a plant down. W7M do the right thing and run away with their tail between their legs, but it ensures them.
Again, it was, you know, nice from... Who was it? It was Guy and one other player from W7M who were upstairs, who managed to kind of stunt a lot of FaZe Clan's push. And I think that's really good, because you can tell that they're getting value out of their off-site play. It's not just about wasting time. They're not getting killed off in the process. I mean, Guy did eventually lose his life by Cameraman, but it was only after 3 kills had come in for W7M. So that was a really effective way of shutting down key parts of FaZe. And I mean, when we talk about players like Astro, for example, who I mentioned is really good for entry on FaZe Clan, doesn't quite have as high a KD as a couple of the other players, but shutting him down early is still really effective and valuable. But again, I have to bring it back down to losing herds really early. Don't put this guy on really important late round operators if he's going to die really early, or just tell him to stay away from windows. And I don't want to make it sound too much like I'm criticizing the team that just won the round, because that's not entirely fair, but it's more just a couple of those round wins that W7M have been close enough that you could feasibly imagine FaZe 2 have won them. And you don't want to be getting in situations that are that close, especially when you're bringing a very similar defensive strategy and defensive lineup every single time. Because as that margin between the wins starts to narrow and how close the rounds are, eventually it will be overtaken and the attackers will start consistently doing better. You can't afford to do that, especially when there are really simple mistakes that you can fix nice and early to ensure your dominance.
Ooh, Panico! Here he comes! Standout player for W7M, this time finding the opener for him and his team. Cameraman getting taken out on the Iana. Horrible windows being challenged onto. Guy, that's a great grenade that you have just eaten, my friend. It is going to leave him down, but not out. Astro maybe going to look to try and push up, but no, it's going to be Cyber to aggressively take the stance on that one. Taking down Guy and looking to maybe stun out the player at the top of Library. Hertz finds one over onto Souls. This is probably the quickest round we have seen so far in terms of action. Cyber comes head to head with the clash, but gets saved by his teammate in Bullet, getting that kill and continuing to trade them on out. Panico and Kurtz, 2 versus 1. Cyber is all that remains for FaZe after a very rushed round here. Is he going to be able to find anything? It looks like he's not got too much intel. Trying to stun out the player. Gets a bit of chip damage into him there. Finds one over onto Kurtz. Can he grab the second? Panico! He had to dig deep for that one. He got the first. He got the last. W7M. They get the round.
And you could tell that he knew exactly where Panico was as well. The flick was directly on point, but Panico just landed those shots those milliseconds sooner. And I have to say, Panico has really been playing with some balls of steel for W7M today, cleaning up so many of the kills that have been awarded to the team and been playing confidently aggressively, but not necessarily overstepping any boundaries. And it's nice to see him doing well in that process. It does mean that W7M have such a substantial lead over FaZe Clan at this point. And if they win this next round, which will be down on Kitchen, FaZe Clan find themselves at a 5-1 half, a 4-round deficit. That's not normal on really any map, and it's certainly not normal for FaZe Clan. This is the first time that W7M have defended this site, though. Now, that brings in two things to consider. The first, are W7M comfortable enough having a really strong defense on this? Well, given the fact that they haven't defended this site just yet, suggests that it's below the others in priority. It's very much a tertiary site. But the fact that they haven't done it yet means that FaZe Clan don't necessarily know what to expect. And they haven't really been that great at making effective adaptations on their attack every time they visited a site that W7M already have been to. So how well they're going to deal with a new site, I mean, that could swing very far away from their favor.
We shall have to see. I was sure we saw this site in round number 3, but I may have.
Oh, did we? Oh, we might have, and then
I may have messed
it
up
down
my
wrong.
notes. I'm not sure. I just seem to remember this sort of smoke rush coming in from FaZe, and around where sort of Panico was left to try and go huge, and Souls clutched it out.
Oh, yeah, I think I've written it down wrong. That's my bad.
It really is, you know, not
It really
a big
is my
deal.
bad, I know.
Clash, it's going to play out in a similar way. The only reason that I brought it up, and the comment that I was going to make, was that we saw FaZe go for this sort of backside push, where they push in through Trophy and kind of the Solarium side of things, the Solarium stairs. Whereas typically we see teams take control of this top floor and do really what Cyber's doing right now. He's got himself straight in. Now, who was playing this mirror window? I imagine it was a defender. I didn't know that attackers got mirror windows and reinforcements that they could use. But look at this power position now that Cyber has to play with. He's got some ping information coming out from him as well. Guy is maybe overstepping the mark here as to what is possible on a roaming mirror, because he's lost his power position. Hadron's getting droned currently and getting shot to bits. Nade coming through as well. It could be the end. The drone is sticking on him. He's got so many crossfires to worry about there. And the floor's going to start getting open.
I like this from FaZe Clan. I like the fact that they're really knuckling down on this one specific defender. But alas, he's not the first to go down. That goes to Kurtz. That's that smoke. W7M, they must have had a lot of training of playing without a smoke, because at this point, they just don't get the option to have him later on in the round, regardless of who's playing him. Padron finally finished off by Cyber, and this is a good, powerful start from FaZe.
Ooh, Panico stepping up. It was about time he did something in this round, as he is the leading light in terms of kills on the side of W7M. Laid prone right next to B-Bomb Chassis. Is he going to be able to get any rotation kills from these attackers? Herds isn't in a bad spot either, and W7M really willing to just bide their time here. Cameraman gets himself down. Astro trying to firefight his way through Solarium stairs with the addition of Souls. Cameraman now going to get revived. 25 seconds remain. Not a great deal of time here, especially when Herds is still playing on these main stairs. He can rotate at a moment's notice instead. Going to choose to challenge the long angle, but Guy, you're against the Cali. He does eventually win out one of the gunfights, but not before the diffuser goes down. Cyber being down makes this an equal 2 versus 2, and kills have to come from somewhere. They're going to come from Astro. He gets the plant, he gets the final 2, and FaZe Clan avoid quite a dramatic attacking phase going in their favor.
I was so ready for Herds to go big then and make up for everything from the earlier rounds, but it was not to be. And that was definitely a much nicer, much cleaner attack from FaZe Clan than we saw from them in some of the earlier rounds. They definitely looked like they knew a lot more what they wanted to do. They knew who they were trying to target, I mean, notably Padron. And I think it was definitely helped out by you know, for example, the whole roaming mirror thing that you spoke about before, where Guy had left the mirror window upstairs in office, looking directly onto the library stairs. Suddenly Cyber gets control of that because it's been abandoned. You know, having those power positions as an attacker very early in the round, just because a defender has handed them over to you, it's a good place to be. And that's not necessarily because the attacker did anything right, other than happening to find a nice little station that the defenders have left them. All in all, FaZe just looked a lot tidier in that round. And now they've switched over to the defense. I wonder if we'll see a substantial difference in the way that they're playing. I would really like to see them look more comfortable, because regardless of where they won and where they lost in that first half, I don't think they necessarily looked super comfortable for a lot of it. They certainly didn't look like the FaZe that we've seen play in a number of these games so far in the first stage of BR6. This could maybe be where we see a lot of their strength and ingenuity come forth, and W7M perhaps struggle a bit more.
I mean, the good thing if you're a W7M fan is that they only need an equal 3-3 split. They don't need to set the world alight here on the attack. Now, we've spoken that Chalet can be tricky to attack onto, but they've got to find a hole somewhere in the defense that FaZe are putting out. Because it is there. Team 1 were able to find multiple holes in the defense of FaZe here on this map. We haven't seen the biggest of days from players like sort of Bullet or Cyber to say that, considering what we know that he is capable of. But when they get themselves onto the defense, could this all change? Vying for control of Library, and Astro is going to give it up quite quickly. As Padron put himself outside, Panico trying to burn out any of those magnets. Still a costly take onto Library for something that really in reality isn't actually clear yet, as Astro has since rotated back up and he's got himself in the little connector. We do also have Bullet playing just outside, so for as heavily as Library's being contested, W7M need to come up with an alternate approach, and I would suggest pushing in from K9 as well.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Oftentimes you see attackers really give a lot of attention to Piano so that they can head down from there. K9 is obviously right by Piano, directly opposite the library stairs. That's how we refer to that window and that balcony that's just outside of the office. So those certainly would be good angles that you could potentially take, especially if FaZe Clan are looking so reluctant to give up control of library. And they were throwing out the Wamai discs as well to consistently regenerate. There's a nice 2 kills from FaZe Clan, Bullet and Cyber, getting Panico and Herds. This should give them, or rather allow them, to retain a lot of control that W7M have struggled to take. Kurtz is just chipping around onto the stairs. He knows that there is a player down there, but he's not going to be overly aggressive, as he wants to be holding down the angle through towards the site as well.
We can see just how little W7M are working off information, not only demonstrated by how many drones they've got left, but the fact that none of these kills are actually getting traded. Curtis is basically hard ADSing absolutely everything and trying to pre-fire his way on in. This could very well be a flawless here from FaZe. It's left down to poor old Padron. 15 seconds and 5 kills to find. He grabs 1 over onto Cyber, but I doubt that the rest of FaZe are going to be as aggressive. It's going to be Souls to pick the final kill up, but it could have been any single one of them. As Padron, well, he was going into a disgusting crossfire there, hopping himself directly into sight, just as a tokenary gesture of his contribution into that round. FaZe, they take round number 1 for them on the defense, and they start to try and claw back this round count some.
This is the site that's the one that I think I'll find the most interesting, because one of the things I spoke about that was particularly, you know, shown off by W7M in their game on Villa against Ninjas in Pajamas was, it was their very physical flank watch, I think is how I spoke about it. And basically what I mean by that is they stood outside of windows and they just caught players as they were rotating around. Now, a lot of that can still be attributed to NIPs, you know, kind of lacking vigilance in those situations, which is, you know, partially their own fault. You can't take that away from them. But this is a site, of all the sites here on Chalet, where that would be the most possible for W7M. Because it's on the top floor, you don't have to be holding multiple floors in order to do that. So you can focus all of your attentions up on the top floor. You could have a player on bathroom window, master window, piano window, one on K9 balcony, and really hold a lot of those avenues in and those lines of sight in across the site. Now, what's going to be really interesting about this as well is FaZe Clan have brought a castle. We've actually seen a number of those barricades go up. I saw one on the bathroom window. I saw one on the master doorway. I'm not sure where the other one went, but the point is that's going to make it so much harder to hold those crossfires and long lines of sight across that top floor if that's what W7M were to go for.
We tend to see Castle kind of interchanged a little bit for a Rooney here on Chalet. Something else that is apparent now that we're seeing Souls playing on the Bandit as well is that Cade was of course banned by FaZe. Cade usually quite a hot pick here for Chalet due to the Electroclaw and the ability to keep control of key walls with nice sneaky placements of said Electroclaw. Instead, we're looking toward the Bandit batteries, much more old-fashioned, if you will, sort of old siege tech, as the Bandit battery is a good old reliable for trying to keep control of hard walls or reinforced walls, but of course are slightly easier to deal with. And W7M, that's going to be on their list of things to do. So far, they are moving quite slowly. A lot of attention being paid to this West Main area. Looks like a drone is working ahead, and, well, Herds won't even require the drone, as it's going to be Cyber to fall. I believe the drone had missed him, and Cyber was maybe just chancing his arm to try and get out of that predicament. But for him, unluckily, it will not be so. Herds is getting himself locked into yet another engage here, as there's so many lines of sight that have been opened downstairs, and it really is eating a good deal of this time.
Souls catches Herds out in return. He got the entry kill, which is certainly nice to see, but he won't have the opportunity to get any more. Evens things out on the man count and gets rid of those two ostensibly fraggers for the two teams. But that doesn't necessarily mean others can't frag, and Astro's proving that. He gets Padrin, but not before he manages to apply the breach onto the walls into the site.
The site has been open there with the Selmas, but with the diffuser cold, 35 seconds, you feel like Padrin was a real key part in the plan there to try and get something down. Not only that, he holds smoke canisters, the smoke grenades that you're going to be able to try and cover off that plant with. Bullet left trying to find some surety as Astro is given an opportunity to peek and will do so. Taking down a little bit of damage, but nothing too significant onto Panico. Toxic Babe canisters are going to stem the push. Shotgun there from over the balcony. Oh, it's going to find one. He could find more yet to come. 5 seconds left. Poor old Panico and Kurt's getting shot like fish in a barrel. Guy offside on the balcony, not really providing any worth in those dying few moments, but really, what was there that he could do?
W7M really trying to take control of that Solarium side of the map, but in order to make that work for yourself, it has to be really well executed. We saw that actually in the first game of the day, all the way back when Team 1 were playing against Furia. We saw a Solarium kind of side push, a lot more decisive, a lot more specific, but this time it was a bit less so, and W7M were a bit messy in their moves in their execution, and Astro's kills at the end really signified that, I think, for me. The fact that he could control the top of the Solarium stairs while the others were trying to move up it, get a 2k for himself, he shouldn't have had that space at all. If you're trying to take it as the attackers, that should have been denied off. Now, W7M, I didn't actually know, so please do remind me if you know, Ollie. Were they playing a Nomad?
In that last round?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Guy.
They
He was the
were.
guy out on the
Yeah.
west balcony. Now,
I thought that they would have, because that they like to bring the Nomad, but bringing the Nomad, I just wanted to add at the end there, playing, you know, the Nomad over towards that side of the map where Astro got those 2 kills could have been used to deny Astro those 2 kills. So maybe a bit better use of the air jabs was required.
it was just a bit half-hearted, wasn't it? The fact that Guy was out there on the balcony isn't a fault necessarily of him. It's that not everything was moving in perfect unison. And that means to say that there's potentially some members of the team that are moving a little bit quicker, there's some members that are moving a little bit too slowly, and you've just not hit that nice balance. There was also nobody on the upside down rappel for the side of W7M, which is a position we saw Alamau playing in our first game of the night, and we all know how powerful upside down rappels are. You've only got a tiny little bit of your head showing, and you get such great visibility on into the site. So for the time being, at least, ooh, it's not looking good. Cyber going to find an opener and a second as Panico tries to come in for the trade, rightly so, but equally gets sat down. Cyber, he's got about 15 health, but he's already grabbed himself 2 kills inside of a minute.
Yeah, man, he's done his job. Like, Cyber could die right now, and he's done his job. That's all he needed to do. So, really good from him. W7M will be on a slightly weakened basis, still trying to attack on. There's the breach onto the office wall, but Bullet is still holding control of Piano. The Melusi Banshee directly in front of him, and it's a Vulcan shield too. So those will have to be cleared out if they want to remove him, because he'll be very hard to kill just in his own right. And if you leave him, then he can hold on to that really important angle as the attackers have to move over towards the library stairs.
Certainly a tough spot for the side of W7M to be in. They've lost a lot of their soft destruction and, of course, the lifeline from Zafir, sledgehammer, the grenades, you name it, they have pretty much lost it at this point, and that could cause for a bit of a side push. Padrin going to be using an exthermic on a soft wall there. Always a bit of a risk. It is, in fact, going to get shot off, and Erds is instead going to just use a breaching round, which would have been the safer bet from the off, but still. Info being gathered on that top floor with the site castle barricaded. There is a chance to do something here, but there's such long lines of sight available for FaZe. Nasty bullet holes for Cyber, and you really blame him. He's found himself a couple of kills, and he's just going to show some patience here. Watching that bullet hole, doesn't really want to make it all too much bigger either, but he's not even going to need to. Soul's a C4, Astro a headshot, and Guy once again left last alive. Bullet trying to snap onto him there, and snap he will, straight onto the head. That Vector doing the dirty, and a flawless round for FaZe.
I mean, didn't I say if Bullet was not dealt with on that position, then he would be able to hold that key angle and catch people out, and that's how Guy went down at the end. And it kind of makes me laugh a little bit, the fact that Guy was, he went to move away, hears the gunfire behind him, pokes his head back around the corner, just like, oh, what's going on over here? You're gonna die, mate. Like, you can't just do that. Well, now FaZe Clan have definitively overtaken W7M. So even though we saw W7M play pretty well on their defense, it has not been the same story while they're on the attack. And FaZe Clan are only 1 round away from match point now. They'll be heading back down to the bar, which is where they went in round number 7. Their preferred site to defend, evidently. And W7M are going to have a big think about what they would like to change the fate of this game, because it doesn't seem to be moving in the way they would like. They've brought along Guy on Lion, so dropped the Nomad, won't be having the air jabs out and about, and to be perfectly honest, I don't think there has been much effectiveness from the air jabs that he has been placing so far. The Lion is something that could catch out players of FaZe Clan and facilitate aggression from those frag players of W7M. But again, I feel like I have to come back to that same point that I made in the first half, and that is, if you want something like that to facilitate the aggression from your fragging players, they have to be disciplined with the aggression that they show before then. You can't take opportunistic swings and pushes and jumps if you have no real valid reason to believe it's going to work. hopefully bringing the E1D with the Lion will help keep them in check a bit more.
And it gets a little bit more active utility out of Guy as well, because he's fallen into that quintessential flank watch role. And it's sometimes like he's almost a little bit too stuck in it when he's the last alive and still trying to like either clear or flank watch upstairs to some degree. And you just get the impression that it's hurting ever so slightly. So with that E1D, there's a chance here that they're going to be able to take somebody out and pin them down. Cameraman going to find an opener over onto Padrin. Hard breach removed. Something that you would surely like to have here, but by no means a requirement, as Panico trades out over onto Bullets as well. Now, a late E1D, but it does something to root the defenders for a time. As with a man count advantage now, W7M find themselves, for the first time in a long time, in a commanding position.
Gives them some space to work with. Bear in mind, Cyber is playing on Frost, and you don't want to see any of these attackers suddenly lose their advantage to landing in one of her welcome mats. Herds being droned in by one of his teammates means that W7M will be to work on the top floor. Astro is present in library. He's watching just out to the corridor and receiving pings from his teammates as to the whereabouts of those attackers. He does, of course, have the hatch open right next to him, which he'll be able to use to drop down onto the side should things get too pressurizing. But for now, he's in a good position to support onto Cyber, who is playing the library stairs.
You can hear drones going in now for Panico as all the players on the side of FaZe are getting themselves into almost off-site positions. It looks like they may be setting up for some sort of a retake here. Arguably giving up a little bit of this control. Nade's getting tossed on in. Hope that's downstairs, and the indicator is just a little bit proactive there, as could have been a bit of a disaster, but the diffuser has been juggled around some. Herds has opened up there over into storage. He's not going to be able to get a line of sight there, getting caught out in the prone. Does get some foot shots in onto Souls. E1D now comes on in, but Cyber finds a kill over onto Herds, and a second onto Kurtz. This advantageous position for W7M is now just falling by the wayside. Astro, another, and Guy last alive once again, 5 seconds. Any kill at this point is going to be impactless as the timer hits 0-0. FaZe do a number to keep that one under control.
How the hell W7M were allowed to move into library? I shouldn't word it like that. It's not about them being allowed to move into library. I don't want to say it like it was some shortcoming of FaZe Clan. It absolutely was not. It was a shortcoming of W7M. How they allowed themselves to move into library while Cyber could still play from upstairs, I don't know if Cyber was there the whole time or if he went and came back up. I think he was there the whole time, which arguably makes it worse. But either way, your options are get rid of the guy who's still upstairs, make sure he's not still there, especially if you're setting up for a post plant or to try and kill into storage. And if he had gone down and made his way back up, you need a flank watch to ensure those stairs are not an option for the defenders. Either way, you set up your attacks so that you opened up the soft wall onto storage, tried and failed to kill the guy who was in there, that was Souls on the Goyo, and then there's still a defender upstairs who can just clean you up anyway. Really bizarre there from W7M. They had an advantage in that round for a decent chunk of it. And it looked like maybe they were going to get some meaningful space upstairs to set up for a push or a plant, or at least control of the site below. But that was such an oversight from them, and it's what came to eat them. And now FaZe Clan are on match point. W7M have not shown anything on their attacking half so far to suggest that they are going to have a substantial change to swing the tides in their favor.
U7M have a lot of work to do here. They had a good defensive phase, but that isn't enough. Cyber has been increasingly a problem on this defense as he's got himself onto the Jaeger and just seems to cause more and more problems round after round here for W7M. Cameraman's seen some early damage as the drones have gone in ahead and Panico's tried to... But it's going to be Kurt's to fall as Bullet finds the opener. Nade does get tossed on in, but nobody watching the window. But not really in a position to try and respond to that opening kill. And this is a position that hurts them greatly. Losing the Zephyr, once again, losing so much of that utility that you're going to try and use to deal with castle barricades, the Lucy Banshees. It really just doesn't bode well.
Panico being pressured from a couple of angles. Astro is going to let go of the position that he was holding onto the window. FaZe Clan still holding most, if not all, of the control up here. The site is on the top floor, so that's where you'd expect pretty much all of the defenders to be, and you can see W7M trying to position themselves on these windows to take some control. Out comes the E1D. Once again, it's a Solarium side, and it'll be Hertz to get a kill onto Cyber. Looking like W7M at least have some control here. It's a C4 onto the window, but it does miss Panico. Maybe this could be where things change.
Could be a dangerous rotation here from Bullet. He's seen the opportunity and he's hit his shots. We've also seen a down over onto Herds, and Padron's going to take a moment to try and get him up while some smoke dissipates. We do have Guy on the upside down rappel, but I would argue it's the wrong window. The window he ought to be on is Master Bedroom, and nobody is on that, and Astro is showing us just why somebody should be on that as he picks up 2 kills there. Guy now left in the 1 versus 3, hits the EE1D, finds 2, goes for the hop in. Can he win his next engage? No, he can't. Bullet, he's going to run out from downstairs. FaZe Clan, they are going to pick up that round and the map here on Chalet.
What a shame for W7M after having a pretty victorious first half for it to all go down the drain at the end. FaZe Clan retaining their spot at the top. Well, I mean, the thing with Guy at the end there, you know, you mentioned how he was on the wrong window. I can understand why he wanted to be on the rappel on the Solarium window, because that's where Astro played that rat corner at the top of the stairs before. They didn't have sufficient flank watch on that last round that they went there, which was back on round number 8, and they tried to adapt to that and ensure it was there. But Astro was just in a different location before, and because that location wasn't being watched, once again, he could repeat what he did in round 8, just at a different place. It seemed in that latter half, at every step, FaZe were one step ahead. W7M have a lot of work to do.
They certainly do, but FaZe can hold their heads high here. They have retained that top spot, at least for now. They don't play the most games over the course of this weekend, but we are going to bring Jackie back in here, and he is going to help us dissect what we have just seen there in FaZe versus W7M.
First things first, I have to dissect something. I've got a bone to pick with you, Gio, firstly.
Yeah, what's up?
I've heard what you're saying about my puns. You know what? You're right. With everything going on in the world and the current climate, it's probably for the best if I just stick to inside jokes instead.
Alright, bye.
So there you go.
You guys can cast the last game.
Nevertheless, it was like I was sat there listening to Panico at the Chalet, the less popular Brazilian version of the
How
pop
long
band.
did it take for you to come up to that one?
I've had the entire length of the game. I've been writing all sorts of material. It's been a great time. But it's because this man was a one-man band. He was popping off the entire game. Obviously, unfortunately, not able to get them over the edge. But for me, I think MVP hands down there for W7M.
Yeah, MVP material for Panico. And had we seen a little bit more out of a couple of other guys on there, we could have seen that game go into all available rounds as well. But FaZe, I think, just showed a little bit more of their depth and a little bit more of their structure in that game to pull it over the line. But W7M, not a team to be written off at all. There's so much talent and promise inside of that roster.
Well, one thing this is kind of right off is obviously the storyline we were talking about, right, Gio? With Liquid and FaZe's kind of struggle of having that one edge with the extra game. Now it's left a little bit null and void.
Yeah, well, because, yeah, Liquid only got 1 point. I did say 0 points at the start of the game, but I meant 1 point from the overtime loss. FaZe have now just picked up 3 points from the regulation win. So they're at this constant tussle now, and yeah, because of Liquid's loss, it essentially nullified that game and means that them and FaZe both have equal opportunity to be getting full points from the remaining games. FaZe just got full points from this game, so they're going ahead with it. Liquid, it's your move.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be a bit of an interesting one, because obviously what do points mean, Ollie?
Prizes.
They do, and they also mean you're at the top of the standing. That is the important factor here in the BR6. Honestly, though, I think the interesting bit is FaZe looked really faint. For the first portion of the game, especially, first 4 or 5 rounds, they were looking a little bit sluggish. It seemed like, for me, Astro was the one that kind of had a big impact, a couple of multi-frags here and there, picked them up a little bit and got them back in. They just seem sluggish, though. Is this something that's been a trend throughout the season, or is this just in this game, Ollie?
I think it's been a trend throughout the season, really. We've seen real inconsistent performances from everybody on the side of FaZe, and I don't really know what we can do to sort of pinpoint that. I don't know where it really lies, but it's almost like a very highly tuned car. It's going to need a bit more time in the garage than your regular banger, and you kind of get the impression that that's what this FaZe roster is. Like, they need that time and they need that honing, and there will be games where they have off games or even off rounds, and then out of nowhere they will just explode. And that's what we see. We see that happen with Cyber quite regularly. We've seen it a little bit less than we would have expected from somebody like Bullet, but certainly Astro really leading a bit of a charge there in that fixture as a whole.
So in this case, is FaZe kind of like an old banger that has been given some sort of dump valve, and it's just making a lot of noise now and then? Is that what you're coming at me with?
I maybe wouldn't go that far. I think it's potentially sort of like a classic car that's been given a bit of a dump valve, you know?
All right. At times it could be enjoyable,
Yeah.
I suppose, is the caveat to that one. But the man who is on the other side, waiting for me to pick his grey gears, of course, is cameraman. Luckily enough, we do get to speak to the big brains of the operation, and we can see how exactly FaZe are feeling after picking up.
Good, and you?
Yeah, really good, man. It's been a long time since we spoke to one another. It's good to see you back, winning again as well.
Yeah, I feel the same.
Interesting thing for me is on that one, right? I was saying to the guys on the desk, obviously, that it looked like it was quite a slow affair, a little bit of sort of stopping and starting for you, going in towards the 4th round, and then all of a sudden, the tide just changed. Everyone comes online, the trade game looks really good, you start hitting your shots. What was the turning point in the team?
Clash? Clash was we haven't played we never played against Clash all rounds, and they were like betting a lot on which side we were playing, and they gave all the rest of the map, and that was a good reading for them. But on the defense, we played better than them without the Clash, and I overslept today, and I didn't attend to the game because I didn't see any player of the opposite team. My team was just crushing everybody. So I'm just kidding, but yeah, they were awesome. Yeah,
Well, it's worked out well. You got a bit of extra rest, and you've got a
yeah.
win. All in all, it sounds
there
like
was
a
a
dream.
round. There was a round when Cyber killed 2, like the beginning of the round, and I stood in the wine cellar door downstairs, just watching the rotation, the flank, and like if it was a 3-year-old children, it would be the same result. Like I didn't do anything; they just crushed everybody, and I was like, okay, they don't need me.
Just out of respect, hey. I mean, it worked out. It's a big result. I mean, the interesting about this one is as well, right? Obviously, in terms of the standings now, because of Liquid's loss earlier, this bumps you all the way up to the top spot. So standings-wise, you're living it right now.
We are number 1 right now. I don't think so. I think we don't have rounds. I think they have more rounds than us. We have the same points. They have 1 game less than us. And
I've got it through from the producer. Apparently you're locked in, top spot. You've got the number 1 seed at the minute based on standings, brother, off the back of that win.
Alright, cool.
It's worked out. There you go. Now you know. You get a little extra off the back of that one. I suppose with that then, obviously, in terms of what's left for the week, are you optimistic that you might actually be able to clutch onto this and steal away that top seed?
Yeah, we still haven't played Oregon and Coastline, so I think for the rest of the week we have the Elite Six, and it's gonna be a bunch of games in a row. and well, I'm very confident. I'm gonna probably show up these maps. It's gonna be a surprise for everybody, probably. I don't know, but we are prepared. We are set to anything. We just we know that Chalet is a good map for us. We showed today and against Team One. Team One played Furia today and was a really good game. I thought Furia was in a better spot than us in Chalet, but I think we are kind of the same level now. So yeah, we're good to go.
All right, man. I like to see it. It's good to speak to you again, brother. You're looking good. You're fragging out. Always good to see the team doing well. Hopefully, we'll get another opportunity to catch up later on. But I'll let you go. I'll let you get some rest after that victory.
Okay, yeah, more rest.
Straight back to sleep.
All right.
Peace. Cheers, brother. Oh, I love it. I'm out on the schoolyard. I'm just mingling. I'm just having a good time. I've been let out of the house, but I'm not actually out of the house. It's brilliant. I'm having a really good time. Cameraman, always lovely to see, though. He's a happy chap. And it's good to see him getting the victory. And apparently the extra sleep in, which always necessary for a healthy, functioning body, Gio.
Yeah, no, absolutely agree. That's why I sleep in till 12:30 every single day. No, I really liked what he had to say. I liked that he admitted that the clash was the problem. It was something we speculated about it being an issue for FaZe. It turned out that was it. And I like how honest he is about that. And I think that's really conducive to FaZe improving going forward.
I mean, that's one thing about Cameraman. I imagine if it's not on his Liquipedia, it should be by now. Never lies. Never lies. That is a stone cold fact about him. Hopefully these games won't be lying, because it looks like we've got a lot more exciting content to go. Of course, one final big bust up, the last best of one of the night, that will be coming up when we return after the break.
Pero mira cómo mueve la masa, patrona la designa. Pero mira cómo vaina, la patrona la designa. Pero mira cómo vaina, otro que te llevases. Ahí y aquí competencia ya no hay. Nadie se compara a tu style. Por eso andamos fire, por eso andamos. Vaina, girl, la patrona la designa, pero mira como vaina, girl, es lo que bases. Ahí y aquí competencia ya no hay, nadie se compara a tu style, por eso andamos fire, por eso andamos. De todas las guiales, es la number one, es la buena mi male. Yeah. Me dice que tal si vamos a quemar, you know. Pero vaya, gente que no le gusta que no sea normal, mala. Estamos en la buena, pero con ellos en la mala. Solo tenemos una vida, hay que gozarla, bebé. Hay que gozarla, bebé. Ella es una fila, una mujer entera. Tiene su respeto, ella es la mera. Es de la plaza, esa es su casa. Pero mira cómo mueve la...
our fourth and final bout of the evening is about to go down. It should be a tasty little treat to round off another exciting evening of the BR6. As of course, we've got MIBR going head-to-head against Team 1 on their second appearance for the day. Obviously weren't able to secure the bag in their opening affair. Is it going to be the same result here, Ollie? That's the big question.
I mean, it quite possibly could. Team 1 are sort of looking desperately for a win at some point today. It's a big day of Siege for them. I think that they're one of the only teams that's going to play 2 games in one Playday, and they played the most rounds available in game number 1, so they certainly didn't give themselves the easiest start for this one.
Well, let's check out the roster and see if these familiar faces, of course, are going to get us any more excited for this game. MIBR are the first squad that is going to be on the block. Made in Brazil, but will they be able to keep themselves winning here in the BR6? Some strong fraggers. They've got some great players on this roster. Still looking like a really quality core. And also nice to see, of course, the coach of Bodega, a man that does an awful lot behind the scenes in terms of Brazilian Siege. He's one of the big brains, and I can imagine his influence on this side will still be doing an awful lot for them, Gio.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I mean, one thing I have to say about MIBR in this matchup is this is the old Team 1 roster. So there's a little bit of rivalry, you know, when these players were playing under the Team 1 banner, they came first in the BR6 regular season last year, they came second in the November Major, and then they came third to fourth in the BR6 finals. So they represented Team 1 to a level that the current Team 1 players would really, really like to do. So I think there's going to be a bit of a rivalry there, because Team 1, well, they've got to match up to the old players of their current team.
Who's going to be the real Team 1 to Team Win against old Team 1? It's a lot on the line. Or will they just have to rebrand to Team 2 at this point? Who really knows?
One of them's going to have to.
Yeah, I mean, if you lose, basically that is just the rules. It's like Hunger Games. If you don't die, you just have to rebrand. Let's have a look at a different brand, though, of course, as we do have another squad that will be going head-to-head here. It is Team 1, not Team 2 yet. The artists currently known as Team 1. They were here earlier, they performed, they turned up to the server, but they couldn't take down Furia. They fell short, they turned tail, and they ran away. Now, after licking their wounds, they are back for another attempt. Still a chance to get some points tonight, but will they be able to do it? It's the big question. That's what we're going to be looking forward to getting out of this one. Ollie, what has to change here for Team 1 coming back in? Was it the map? Was it Furia's playstyle? Or is Team 1 just having a sluggish day?
I feel like Team 1 might be having a sluggish day and potentially a sluggish stage. If you look at the games that they've come away with victories on, they've regularly been taken to a lot of rounds, and it's been against sort of teams that are toward the bottom end of that table. MIBR aren't one of those teams. Typically, we would expect MIBR to be challenging at that top spot. We just saw Team 1 struggle against Furia. I think this one could be a little bit of an uphill battle for them, Jackie, I'll be honest. I know that we regularly speak about Alamau and how much of an impact he can have, and as a team of individual players, they are very talented. I do just worry sometimes about their teamwork.
Yeah, I can see that. There was always issues with cracks with some of these players. You know, you've got good talent. It just depends if it all gels. At times, it feels like it is missing the glue a little bit. But we do have the brick and mortar of the battle, of course. The map that we're going to be getting into. And we can start to have a look at the veto for this one. Now, I will be honest with you guys. It's the last game of the night. I'm looking at it for what it is. Can we have another Oregon?
It's always possible. It's not been banned out thus far. We could have another Chalet. There's Oregon is going, but Chalet's still in.
Chalet. Right, well, all bets are off. It's going to be a fresh face for the last map. Oregon Chalet is, of course, going to be coastline. We do love to be beside the seaside, and I'm going to be beside myself with this matchup as it looks to be a tantalizing affair. MIBR up against Team 1. It's the last game for the BR6 tonight. Strap in for the Friday frags as we get into it.
Thank you very much, Jackie. Let's jump straight into coastline now. We do have our last game of the evening. MIBR versus Team 1. We haven't seen a great deal of coastline so far, Gio, inside of this stage. But I'm glad to see it get brought out here. It feels like a bit of a treat.
Yeah, we had Coastline as the last map of the day in the last Playday, which was Liquid versus Furia, and well, we remember how that went. It was a little bit of a mess. So I would like to see this one be a bit less of a mess, but it feels like a free-for-all, sometimes Coastline, where it could just go either way. You never know what's going to happen. And Team 1, of course, having already played today and going to max OT as well, narrowly missing out on the win, that's going to affect everything as well, even if it's just by making them a bit tired. Team 1 are going to be the ones to ban Jackal and Valkyrie, while MIBR go for Thatcher and Malusi.
Some funny old bands coming out there, but then again, we are on Coastline. Malusi sees such a high pick rate, it makes sense to ban her out. Jackal, for me, maybe is a bit of the question mark. It's possible to use Jackal on this map, but I always don't think it's meta. I always believe that there are other things you can bring as opposed to a Jackal, especially for such a small map. It might be hard to start things off here on the defense. Coastline, a map that has no significant way either side as to which one is more sort of potent, which one is preferred. Attackers and defenders see a fairly equal split, and if anything, there's an edge toward the attackers, just in the fact that you can be a bit more flexible in what you bring. However, for this round in particular, Lagonis is still going to bring the Hibana. Usually a regular pickup on Coastline. You can open some things, and some hard walls are nice to get open, but hard breach not always a necessity.
Well, I was actually going to say, when is the last time you saw a Hibana be brought on Coastline? Because oftentimes nowadays, if you're going to bring a hard breach, it's usually 8s. You know, on this site particularly, the reason why you want to bring a hard breach predominantly is to open up the pink wall, which is that quadruple wall that borders courtyard in the center. You can do that from the roof, and Hibana you can do from far away, but you can do the same with Ace, and he brings smokes. The only other place I can think of that would be particularly useful to bring a hard breach is the VIP wall, which is well, the wall of VIP onto VIP corridor. But if you can get that open, then you can have a really strong line of sight through into billiards and pink. So that's another place where you might like to see that be used. But again, that's somewhere that you can get an ace, and he brings smokes. It's really interesting to see Lagonis pick Hibana. Reduct taken straight out. Great kill from Neskin, who remained resilient in that engagement.
Have Team 1 chosen violence after that first game of the night? They might be coming into this with quite a big point to prove, and if they've been in that game mentality, that Playday mentality, and then gone off and hit themselves with a scrim and some practice and some sort of teamwork and exercises, we could see quite a dangerous Team 1 coming out here now, because these guys are already hot. We saw standout performances from Alamau, KDS, Levy was a little bit more questionable, but Lagonis stepped up. Neskin as well to a degree. There was some really good individual plays from all of them, and it was such a hard fought game that you would expect, you know, every single individual to have something positive to say, and we genuinely do. So if they've sort of been able to carry that over and manage their energy throughout the course of the day, it could be quite dangerous here. They moved with such conviction onto that opening kill, and it may have just been opportunistic, and they're instead going to start to drag things back somewhat. But for me, it looked like a promising start, and then everything's just sort of tempered off a little bit.
The one to really look out for, I think, will be Levy, because he's someone who got caught out in the tail end of a lot of opening engagements in the game earlier today. And so that meant he often found himself as the opening death. He's not that this time, but we want to see him doing a bit better. Philippox turning around onto KDS as he misses the shot, and that's Lagonis' cue to get planting.
Ooh, it looks as though that plant will go down. The Toxic Babe came in far too late there. Philippox now trying to do something and try and aggressively push on out, but he will only find himself an already downed Alamau. The site is now being held from Repel as Levy has got himself onto that aquarium balcony. More Toxic Babe canisters coming on in. Surrogate only going to do so much, and you need to do something about the player on Repel. Raps could find himself with a pocket of safety here, especially if Lukic continues to cover him, but he's got to get back onto that diffuse. Levy left with no choice but to aggressively push on through. Time being wasted here. Fouls might be down, Raps might be down, but I tell you who isn't down. Player diffusing that bomb.
absolutely nuts there that Team 1 actually had fairly decent positioning for dealing with the post plant, especially the control over Aqua Balcony, where you basically have a direct line of sight over where the disabler has to be, and yet MIBR still came out on top in that instance. Lukid, the name that we called out, he's in the top 5 for rating, KD, KPR, and survival in Brazil. So despite the fact that he actually had some time off because he was unwell, they had to bring in a free agent to stand in for him. He's doing absolutely great, and he's proving that that's continuing through into this game after that round as well. MIBR really taking a situation that could have worked very much against them and deciding to turn that into a win.
Good dedication to just concentrate on getting on playing the objective from MIBR. You know, recognizing, yeah, sure, we can just waste this time and we can have someone disable that diffuser and just essentially get the kills and then burn the time onto poor old Levy, who was just left with so much to do. And there is only so much you can do when you are on that rappel. There's only so many angles that you have access to, and sure, it might be really easy to stay alive there, but you still can't have full effect, especially when you're in such a deficit in terms of the man count. So Team 1 maybe going to feel a little bit hard done to there. It's not every day we see a plank go down and then it get sort of retaken, the bomb site get retaken. So something to work on there in terms of getting kills before you get that plant down. But once again, they were coming low on time. So what are they going to be able to do differently here? Well, for a start, they're going to be attacking somewhere else. I believe they're going to be attacking over onto Kitchen. Redux is playing at the bottom of Cool Vibes, and so much intel getting pinged out on these drones by Team 1.
It's nice that they're being methodical. You can also see an ankle through that drone hole of the last drone that we had an angle onto. Reduct has taken at least one of the drones for himself. He has that present upstairs, so he can kind of flank watch for himself. Alamau gets the first kill onto him, though. So while the drone will outlive the Mozzie can't do much on their own. A second kill for Alamau as well means a good start for Team 1. And those remaining roamers, in this case just Lukid really, will probably have to start moving back towards the site soon.
They are going to be feeling the pinch, especially now that full control has been gained over Sunrise. Puts question to how long Felipox is going to be able to stay alive inside of Blue, as well as he's now going to maybe try and challenge onto Alamau. He knows full well that he's going to be inside of Sunrise, and actually you can see him dipping out in towards Sauna. Alamau is looking dangerous. He's found himself 3. And there's nothing to stop him from confirming this and getting an entire ace here. Fowl's going for a run out. What is he doing in such a deficit? Going for that kind of an aggressive play on the smoke. It's still fairly doable for MIBR, but they've got a big battle and they need to find an opening. There's a minute left on the round. Drones are being lost here, and it looks as though Alamau is going to do it. He finds his 4th. Fowls is now the last player alive for MIBR. He's inside of main lobby. And I'm sure that Alamau is going to be thirsting after this one. He pushes himself down the corridor. Alamau finds it. A flawless round and an ace there for Team 1.
It feels almost like the calmest ace we've ever seen, because it was spread so much across the round. It wasn't all in one burst. It wasn't in a complete explosion of action. It was just control. Team 1 had so much of it, and Alamau could punish the control that Team 1 lacked. Or MIBR lacked. Sorry, my bad. MIBR lacked the control. It was
a strange ace, wasn't it? Because everybody knew where Alamau was. And it's almost like no one on the side of MIBR ever really called it out that he was in Sunrise. Because everybody died through just peeking him in one way or another. And for Fowls to be in main lobby in a 1 versus 5 with less than a minute left, with his back turned to the car, it just seems strange.
It was really odd, wasn't it? Because it was like, at that point, you know, there is the risk of someone coming down white stairs. There's the risk of someone dropping down the hatch behind you. There's a risk of someone coming down the kitchen corridor. There's the risk, I guess, that someone could come in through service and literally be in the site behind you. It is a very exposed place to play where you can be completely surrounded and have very limited information as to where those players are. I'm not entirely sure why you'd want to put yourself there, because even if a player were to come down white stairs, eventually they're going to move in towards the site and you will see them at some point. So you might as well take the opportunity to position yourself somewhere that's going to be more opportune for you. Falls really had some questionable moments in that round, and yeah, there was the jump out as well, which was just a bit strange, and I'm not sure, but either way, the rounds are evened up now, so there's that.
We'll have to see how MIBR bounce back from that and just chalk it down to a bad round for now. See if that's a trend that continues, as there was just some great deal of confusion there. Man of the moment, Alamal, looking to make his entrance here through Guitar and Hall of Fame and make clear everything upstairs, attacking downstairs onto a blue bar and Sunrise. Oh, sorry, onto a kitchen service again. My apologies. Sunrise is being held this time, but that isn't the point of ingress this time for Team 1. Instead, they're going to be trying to take this top floor. Ooh, Neskin. Nearly. He's got the ping, he's got the info, pull the trigger, can't hit his shots. Not sure if there is, in fact, a gap for him to go through. As we can see, obviously, the outline. Obviously, Neskin can't, but he still knows that there is going to be a player behind that. However, it is a Goyo shield, so you do have to deal with it with some degree of care. Backside push now coming in from KDS as the wall will get open, but KDS, no, doesn't check his corner, had no intel, and the push wasn't succinct. It didn't come through at the same time from the opposite side, and that's meaning that a kill is going to go untraded.
That was absolutely bizarre. They knew Raps was in there. Neskin's just been trying to deal with him for 15 years. So I don't quite know why he went in looking in the wrong direction, but I mean, free kill, I guess, onto him. And Raps gets a second one onto Neskin. I do have to question why Neskin didn't decide to expend his nades to clear out the shield earlier than, you know, he did. Like, the shield was left up for a while, but regardless, Alaman's going to push on forward and finally gets Raps, but really shouldn't have had to do it at the cost that he did.
And look at the time left, 17 seconds. We're seeing players continually get down, one on either side. Lagonis is going to have to aggressively push in, but he's likely going to push into gunfire, and sure enough, he does. Alamar finds one onto Felipox, but I believe he was already down for the count. 5 seconds, an attempted drop shot, but it will be cut short. Redux and Fouls finding the final 2 for MIBR. It looked much better from MIBR, and much worse from Team 1.
Really bizarre from Team 1. I mean, you know, they decide to change the approach of their attack. So they're no longer doing a Sunrise-focused attack, but instead coming in through Master or Penthouse and Theater. That's fine. Those are the 2 most common ways of attacking onto the kitchen site anyway. And I actually quite liked at the start the fact they decided to go for something different, because it kind of shakes up the defenders' expectations. Now, they would have already droned it out as well and known that there was a defense being held up there. That's why they actually had the Hibana pellets, the X-Kairos, used on the penthouse wall so that they could open up that line of sight and try and flush Raps out. They were obviously aware of the Vulcan shield because they could, you know, see it. My assumption as to why a nade wasn't used on it earlier is probably because there was an ADS that I didn't see or something like that, because if there were not an ADS, then there wasn't really any real reason why a nade couldn't have been thrown in. But it's the fact that they had all this information, were very much aware of their reasons for pushing in that way, and still KDS walked in looking the wrong direction when he had free reign to the back of Raps's head, and then Raps could turn around and kill Neskin, who has just been trying to hold on to him and flush him out for the last however long. very, very strange from Team 1. And really, MIBR should be thanking whatever gods gave them that opportunity for it, because, I mean, that was it, man. Like, they just needed to get that control.
So maybe we chalk each team down to just having a shaky round and see that from here on out, they're both going to at least sort of play in ways that we've seen them play before, because there just looks to be so much sort of lack of surety on either side at the moment. They're both playing very scared, both playing quite timidly. I know that this game has quite a bit of weight on it for MIBR, at least, in maintaining their position in the standings. Because, of course, with fixtures going on before it, there is quite a bit of change inside of those standings at the moment. And MIBR haven't had the greatest of seasons so far, so they're going to want to come away from tonight with a win here. That also adds a little bit of pressure into the mix. Alamau, he's going to be pressuring over onto Redux. Can Raps find the trade? Playing hide and seek here on this main lobby desk, trying for the bait and the switch. The time has arguably passed, and Alamau's got himself into a nice position. Can pre-fire his way through, but Raps comes in with a down. Bit of a waste of a C4, but it confirms a kill nonetheless. We ought to tell Felipox that Zafir can no longer withstand.
You can see that Alamau was actually having that information pinged out for him as well. So MIBR, to be able to punish that, a really good thing, even if it does mean that they use pause. Lukit will be punished in return. Neskin getting the headshot down in through the floor. Puts MIBR at a man disadvantage. Raps is just playing very tentatively here in security, trying to hold that angle through the door, but instead backs off and places some barbed wire along the way as well. Bear in mind too that it did have an Aruni gate on as well. So MIBR really trying to hold off Team 1 from using that route in through security and office as a push into the bars.
Worry for how much intel Team 1 have currently got, as they've only got 3 drones left alive. Now as the push comes in, it seems as though MIBR can turn their attentions to the right directions, as Felipox is going to look to try and confirm that kill. No, does get taken out, as Raps is left in the impossible situation, and apparently Team 1 did have all the information that they needed. At least Neskin did. He finds the final 2 kills. We get a nice view of it there in the kill cam.
I am getting a little bit of a flashback from our first game of the day, just because it's the backwards and forwards so far. And we've seen this in Brazil a few times when teams get caught in this pattern of one round goes one way, one round goes the other. It can really go on for a while. And I mean, if you really want to dig deep into that, then we could go all the way back to SI 2019 for something very similar that happened on this exact map, but between any Brazilian team. So maybe that's a little bit different. But regardless, MIBR Team 1 constantly flip-flopping. And I don't think it's because either of them are coming through with completely infallible approaches to the attack/defense, respectively. I think there are a lot of mistakes being made on either side that are going punished when those openings happen. You know, there have been players who have done well on certain rounds and then shown up on others. You know, Raps Falls had a good round despite the fact having a really questionable play early on in the game. Alamau has been showing up for Team 1 and actually sitting there with a really good kill differential at 8 and 3, then was taken down and punished quite hard by MIBR in that last round. So there is this kind of balance that's happening right now on this map, and neither of these teams have yet figured out how to break away from that and charge forward with some momentum.
We might just be destined to see another overtime here, Gio, and that just could be the way of the road. We may be that may be the path that has been laid out before us, but these two teams are certainly battling it out. It's kind of one of those games where it's more through sort of teaming in one thing or another than two teams that are really going at it. I think we're just seeing inconsistencies over the course of different rounds, really. This round in particular, attacking onto Blue Bar and Sunrise, it wasn't somewhere it wasn't somewhere that Team 1 looked like they were in a good position to try and win. They didn't seem likely to win that round, in my opinion. They didn't have a lot of drones, they had sort of bad positioning, and it took Neskin to get 2 big kills to really open up things. And MIBR maybe falling into that sort of fatal trap of over-peaking a little bit. But they've certainly felt like it was reasonable enough for them to come back here again and to give it another shot. And that's probably quite a fair assessment, especially with how the early round went.
Opening kill. Lukid on to Neskin. Starting things off well for MIBR. One thing that I do want to say is that given how even this game has been so far, I would argue that suggests slightly worse play by MIBR, purely because Team 1 have more of an excuse to be underperforming in this game, because they've already played a game today, and not just a game, but a max OT game. So they have a bit more of a valid reason for potentially being somewhat worn out, for potentially not playing at their highest potential. MIBR don't really have that, and they're coming in from the top 4. You would assume that they would be playing a lot more definitively ahead than Team 1 at this point, and yet they haven't been.
Everyone's kind of shy to make the move here as Lagonis pushes through Sauna. A swing from KDS finds him a kill onto Reduct, and that could be the opening that is required. But a Toxic Babe canister is going to stop the push for the meantime. And here guns on the side of MIBR pointed in the right direction. Another Toxic Babe, and with the health that's available on side of Lagonis, he is not able to push on through that. A third and final Toxic Canister will get thrown on out, and some aggression required here from Team 1. KDS going to try and apply that aggression, but Fowl's challenging nicely on the window. Shotgun at close range always wins KDS, I'm afraid, as kills continue to trade. Alamau attempting to go massive. It's all going to be down to Raps in this instant. Finds himself in the 1v1. Levy, he's redeeming himself for his performances earlier on tonight, and he finds the final 2.
Yeah, I really like that from Levy at the end, because I was going to say that the story of this round was really told by the kill feed, where it just said Lukid Alamau, you know, the backwards and forwards between those 2 players who were showing up. Then Levy comes in with the 2 kills at the end, and it's like, hey guys, I'm here, just forget about that game I played earlier, it's no big deal. And it's really nice to see as well, and it's certainly not, you know, I don't want to word it in that way, in a way that makes it sound like, you know, Levy is an underperforming player, or anything like that, really. It's more just that, I mean, after all, when I mentioned earlier, if you weren't here for the game that we had against Furia, Team 1 have 3 players in the top 10 for entry, one of whom is Levy. So this is in all of Brazil. So Levy is absolutely not an underperforming player in the grand scheme of things. It is just that in the game that we saw play earlier back on game number 1 today, Levy was really getting caught out in engagements that weren't favorable to him and found himself going down quite early in a lot of the rounds. So to see him, yeah, kind of redeem himself and rise up from those ashes to perform better in this game is really nice to see. And it's definitely proof that this isn't, you know, that kind of performance isn't something that we would consistently expect from him. It just happened to be in that game, and now he's looking a bit more on form again.
And typically you can't get a lot of entry kills without having a handful of entry deaths as well. So maybe just finding a little bit of balance there from earlier. But certainly being alive when it mattered there in round number 5. Team 1 doing a really good job of their attacking phase so far here on Coastline. You are kind of expected to come off at least an even split, and that seems to be where they are shaping up for at the moment. Potentially better as well, as there is still an opportunity for them to go 4-2 here and really start to put some pressure onto MIBR. For which the kills haven't been coming oh so easily. Seems as though they've really been struggling. Certainly in that opening engagement, and then just being alive and being in the right position at the right time toward the end of the round. Somewhere that Team 1 are certainly excelling at the moment. And it's really starting to show. Oh, KDS, don't do it to him. Do not do it to him. He's got the bullet hole in the barricade. Oh, poor old Felipox. He gets away.
He's gone.
Oh, it was tense stuff for a time.
I was wondering if that was going to work. Whenever I see those tiny little bullet holes, because you have to remember a lot of these players, of course, don't play on 16:9. They're playing on something like 4:3, 3:2, 16:10. Basically an aspect ratio that means you have a much closer up view of what is happening. So those bullet holes are a lot easier for the players to see. Now, we've seen the X-Kairos go out onto the pink wall, but whether or not it's enough to have actually opened anything, because I think at least one of the pellets got removed. Either way, Team 1 is investing a ton of utility in, and they'll be held back for a time because of the Toxic Babe canister. In comes the Sophia Lifeline, and Lagonis once again for the plant.
Eating one of those Toxic Babe canisters, burning this utility nice and early. Also got rid of a C4 there as well. Diffuser going to get juggled there as KDS doesn't have a lot of health, certainly not enough to try and plant again. And instead, Neskin will pick that up. Instead, he will eat a load of gas and keep his teammate KDS alive for the meantime. Neskin finds a great rotation kill there over onto Felipox, so not only baiting this utility and trying to get the plant down, but also coming up with really important frags. Lagonis now going to retake that diffuser and try to stick it down in the default spot. Going to get swung eventually, but Alamau comes in with the covering fire, but it wasn't quite enough. The plant has still gone down in Team 1's favor. 4 versus 2 now. Make that 3 versus 2 as Raps finds a nice kill. Alamau in a little bit of an off location, as he is in fact at the bottom of Big Window, and Redux left with a large task on his hands. Could get taken out here on the rotation. He will at least get shot at, but the trade comes through as Levy gets the intel. And the 2 final players for Team 1 pinching to perfection to pick up that final frag.
Really well coordinated by Levy and Alamau at the end there to bring Reduct down. I actually really like the approach that Team 1 did use onto that. When we spoke about, bringing the Hibana and being able to open up and breach onto the pink wall, rather than seeing the entire wall get opened or a use of a lot of the pellets from the roof, what we instead saw was Lagonis actually do it from luggage and use just the 2x2 pellets. So where you use 4 of them. After the changes to Hibana, you can now, of course, kind of decide how many pellets you want to use and thus how big the breach that you make is. And what they used that for was throwing in projectiles. I'm pretty sure the nades that they threw in were through those holes that Lagonis opened. You can do that from luggage. Now, he opened 2 holes, and one of my interests, and I don't know for sure because obviously I haven't played using those lines of sight, but I wonder how useful they would have been as lines of sight from luggage for players further back. Now, the reason I ask that is because one of those flank kills that were caught out by the attacking team was over at the top of White Stairs. And I thought that was really important and impactful because had that defender been able to push up into luggage, maybe they would have been able to use those Hibana holes for themselves. I don't actually remember who it was who got killed, but if they were maybe carrying something like a C4 or whatnot, that could also be used against the attackers by the defenders. So it's really nice that that kill was caught out as well. It meant that the attackers retained control over the breach that they had made, which they had specifically made to throw in utility. And that's something that we haven't seen much of in the past, mostly because the Hibana changes are very recent.
We didn't criticize earlier, but we questioned, I think is maybe a more polite way of saying it, the teamwork on the side of Team 1, and we have done previously in previous weeks. The way that they executed on that round, to just go back and watch it as a round of Siege, if you didn't know anything about the team, you would suggest that they have been together for some time, and that they are quite versed with playing well with each other. The way that they were juggling the diffuser, baiting out the utility, all working and pulling in the same direction, it was a beautiful round of Siege to watch, and it's now given them a huge advantage. They're 4-2 here on Coastline. They've switched now over onto the defender side, and all they've got to do is come out with an equal 3-3 split, and they will take this map.
Yeah, what I spoke about was, the backwards and forwards and one of the teams needing to get that pull away that they could build from. Well, it turned out that Team 1 was that team. A beautiful nade from Raps, however, deletes Alamau off of Cool Vibes. That's really nice control. Another kill onto Lagonis in return for the death of Reduct. means that MIBR are starting this one off strong.
Ooh, Levy responds, though, going for a bit of a stroll on Maestro. Manages to find himself one. Oh, Felipox. That one's going to hurt if you're Neskin. I've just got a feeling that you're going to be hurting and smarting after receiving that sort of a headshot. Levy getting himself back up these cool vibe stairs now. He does, of course, still have the Alder, but he also doesn't have a great deal of health. Will be downed in part due to the gunfire and a little bit due to the nade, I think, as well. KDS going to bait him out now, or at least try his best. But no, gets taken down by Felipox. There's an aggressive push from MIBR straight through Hookah Door.
You know, I have to question T1's lack of investment into protecting Alamau on the blue stairs. I don't know where utility like ADSs were placed, but if a nade can just be thrown straight through to take him down, that's not good. Because Cool Vibes is usually one of those areas, the control of which is fought for until right to the bitter end. Especially if you're planting in Hookah. Using that rotate through into Cool Vibes is vitally important for not only rotating into the site, but also getting line of sight. And you often see that really fought over and really scrapped and scrambled very, very late into the round because of how important the control there is. So to have not invested much in retaining that control for the defenders and losing that position early is really disappointing. Because obviously they're not just going to leave Cool Vibes vacant. They're going to move someone in to take that position because it's so important. But that then immediately means that the position that that defender who's done the moving was in before is then vacant again. So you have to give up position, you have to give up space in order to fill in that gap that's left over on Cool Vibes. So I think that was a mistake from T1. Luckily a simple mistake, which they, you know, can probably fix in the future. But it definitely was the first domino in everything that happened in that round to allow MIBR to push straight through Hookah, get the last couple of kills they needed, and win it out.
Team 1 going to be defending here on Kitchen. Lagonis might be struggling to see that drone as it dances about his feet. Very conscious of some sort of run out. Does this speak to a bit of a rush? It looks like we could be framing up for it as plenty of utility is at least getting burned. And yes, sure enough, it will be a rush. Sledging all the way through into the bathroom. Alamau, you've got to make a swing. No, he doesn't even know that there's players in there. There's such a mess. Kills are traded and MIBR are falling. Team 1 firmly in an advantageous position here. Reduct trying to have something to say about it. Love that little bit of a drone bait that he gave. KDS down for the count, so by all means level at the moment. But for how long? Intel is going to be available on the players inside of main lobby, and that's going to net Reduct 2 kills, but not before he gets traded as well. A rapid fire round with kills going backwards and forwards. Neskin getting a few shots there in onto Felipox, but Felipox has the diffuser. He also has smoke grenades. Could try and get a plant off here. How much intel has Neskin got? He's got to push quickly because that plant is nearly confirmed. Doubts himself for a time, and the plant will go down. Felipox now in quite a good position to try and hold on to this. And Neskin really searching to check that if there are any drones onto his location, as he knows as soon as he swings this door, he's going to get pre-fired. What about that for a shot from Neskin? Turn around, dude. The diffuser's right there behind you. You have got loads of time to disable that diffuser. What a shot by Neskin.
Wow, that was an insane headshot and exactly the one he was looking for. You can see how thorough he was trying to be as well when encroaching on the plant because of looking for those drones, because of wanting to be sure that he has the advantage, even though he didn't even know where the damn diffuser was being planted. I think we've got a replay for that as well because, oh my god, that was beautiful. Real perfect shot. And I mean, crazy how the entire round just devolves down to that. They go for the rush, MIBR. It doesn't entirely work. It was actually Dogonis who got a number of kills in that instance. And as soon as we saw this, Reduct coming round to rotate to that main doorway while Levy and KDS were trying to get out of the way of service and bathroom so that they could safely res one another, or one of them needed resing. Reduct comes round, catches them both out, and then suddenly you're in this 1 versus 1. Neskin with limited information, but MIBR had even less on him. Facilitates such a wonderful kill at the end, and this is exactly what we love to see.
I think I would have been forgiven if I'd have called him Nesk in that circumstance. In the heat of the moment, with the way that he was firing. Maybe not quite, but almost. Certainly up there in and amongst the top plays of the night that we've seen so far. And we have seen so many good plays here tonight. And it's by no means over. Team 1 are 1 round away from match point, 2 rounds away from closing out the game. MIBR need to show us something pretty soon here, because that little rush, for all it came down to a 1 versus 1, it didn't work for them. And it was a round that they not carelessly threw away, but sort of gave away very lightly, in my opinion.
Rushes are always a big risk. You're taking a huge gamble because you know that they can fail, and that's why you often see operator lineups specifically decided that really let go and forego a lot of the utility and needs that you have for most standard operator lineups, and you lean into that rush strategy lineup. Either way, they can still fail, and that's what happened to MIBR on that last round. It looks like this time round they'll be going for something a bit more standard, as I don't see much rush to rush this time. Philippox just trying to shoot in through to Hookah. Now, Team 1, look at this. They have brought the Wamai and the Jaeger, so there should be so much more protection to Cool Vibes, which was the big problem that I had before. And indeed, you can see the Wamai magnets just by the rotate. I'm not entirely sure where the ADSs are, but we at least saw those magnets just by the shield there, above the rotate at the top of Cool Vibes. So they at least have that. That's a really big change that I wanted to see.
How is default camera still up? Like, Levy is literally on default camera, able to provide intel that there are 2 players on Hooker balcony. This is page 1 stuff from MIBR. The fact that the Ruins default camera is still up. If someone swings out onto there, or if someone tries to challenge, like, they have got no means to complain. That is a really big error here for these attackers, and they're certainly not making things easy for themselves. Reduct pushes aggressively on through 90. Will find himself a kill. KDS trades out onto Lukid. Lukid's someone that's been relatively quiet in this fixture so far. Reduct's going to retreat with only 10 or 15 health remaining. With limited time left, MIBR is still trying to find some sort of a push. Lagonis unfortunately hits the vault after missing all his shots. Val's going to take him out as a little bit of a freebie. We've still got to deal with Levy. Oh, hold on to the door for a little bit longer. He's getting peeked by multiple angles. There's nothing that he can do. Where is Alamar? Where is KDS? Just gets overwhelmed on side of Vase. Oh, the vault through from Alamau, vault through from KDS. Such a sad, sad end to what could have been a great round for Team 1. But MIBR dig deep, and a storm of Cool Vibes and of Hooker nets them the round.
I mean, I just had flashbacks, you know, like horror movies where you've got, like, the bad guys or the scary things or whatever. I mean, like, pick a generic horror movie thing, just encroaching from all angles. That's what that was at the end there. And I'm gonna be honest with you, that round really is almost shameful for Team 1. The reason being that there were mistakes, egregious mistakes that MIBR made that Team 1 should have punished. And I really notably talking about the default cams, right? The attackers have left those up. Use them. You can't let the attackers win on a round where they kept the default cams up. It's one thing to be the team that forgot to shoot out the default cams. It's another to be the team that let the team that forgot to shoot out the default cams win.
It's the false sense of security stuff, Gio. It's like, Levy jumps on the camera, he's like, guys, don't worry, these guys have left Ruin's default up, like, we're going to be fine in this round. And everyone's like, oh, imagine leaving that default camera up. Yeah, like, I would never do that. And then you lose the round to him because you just, like, drastically underestimated them. And all the while, it was just a bait from MIBR, and they were like, we'll leave Ruin's default cam up this time, and we'll try and lull them into a false sense of security, and then we'll just pull off a nice little pinch at the end. What do you reckon? And that's exactly what we saw happen. Such a tough round to watch from sort of Team 1's perspective because they were just getting overwhelmed in every instance. And that was probably the best we've seen MIBR work together as a team, certainly in a good deal of time, because one of the first rounds that they've picked up here on the attack. Now can they do it again? They've won upstairs inside of Hooker. It's not been enough for for Team 1 to try and move back. They've instead decided to switch things up and take us to Sunrise and Blue as a bit of a change of scenery here.
My favorite type of change of scenery, one in which you can see 2 bars. It's the best.
A blue one and a sunrise one. There's one for every time of the day.
My favorite colors. Team 1 really need to pull this one out because they absolutely should not have lost that last round. And hopefully their diligence is going to be on all-time high this time round. They've brought a clash. Very interested to see how that is going to go. We've seen a lot of clash play today from a couple of teams, most notably W7M when they were playing against FaZe Clan in that last game that we had. Clash is really good at denying massive areas to the attackers. And unless MIBR can effectively deal with her, then they could find their route into the site much harder. You can hear those Selmas, I think, being popped off somewhere. It's not going to be here in Mud, where they sometimes are placed, so I assume they're on the other side of the site. And Clash is going to get aggressive on that doorway.
Agonis playing quite aggressively, as you say there. Easy to get himself caught out, especially when you've got nothing really around you. Levy! How have you just won that engagement? How have you just taken off Lukid's head? We can't even blame the Observer because Lukid should win that engagement all the time, but Levy just comes out swinging like a madman. Felipox is going to find one onto Neskin and level things out, but Alamau steps up to the plate once again. Felipox inside of this office area, the site open, but Toxic Babes denying access for now. Files watching the flank through security. And all the while we wait. 40 seconds on the clock. Wraps with an important swing there over onto Alamau. It really opens up Sunrise, but the diffuser isn't in Sunrise. The diffuser is now being rotated through, but gets caught out by the clash. Kills straight either way. KDS for Wraps. As frag grenades are now tossed out onto that clash to try and drop that shield somewhat. Levy playing prone. Nobody knows where Levy is at this moment in time, and Lagonis is just burning time. Gets some pre-fire shots in over onto Fouls. Goes for a bit of a change of pace. If he can work with the clash here, he could find multiple frags. Levy finds one. Can he grab the second, or is time going to step in? Draws for the pistol. Confirms the kill. It is going to be Lagonis that grabs it from the clash. The time was winning anyway. Both players could have got the kill. It was locked in there.
A bit scrappy, that's for sure, and we're looking very similar to how we did in the first half, where the first 4 rounds of each half have gone MIBR Team 1, MIBR Team 1, or as they're written in my notes, Momo on each one. That was kind of a... It was a bit messy, but I could understand the thought process from Team 1. They really invested the clash up in Sunrise, pushing towards Mud, or Pool, or Sauna, whatever you would like to call it. But the breach was actually made over onto the blue wall over from within office, which suggested that that's where MIBR wanted to push through. And there was way less attention being paid there from Team 1. So what they did is they actually recalled the clash and they brought her out into the kitchen corridor, which kind of meant that if any player, an attacker, were to move in onto the site from either side of the site and onto whichever bomb site they wanted, you still had eyes on that using the clash. There was also a shield there as well, which provided some protection behind her too. And what that basically gave Team 1 was the space to be able to decide what they were going to do based on what was happening and the decisions that MIBR were making in real time. Now, KDS was also trying to play next to the Clash, not only to provide cover, but obviously also to use the Clash to get kills. He did get 1 kill, but was immediately traded out. And I think that's what sent things into a bit of turmoil, because suddenly you're waiting for players on either side, and you can't be as coordinated and decisive in anything that you're doing because you're at such, such a lack of players. So it was really an interesting one. I could understand how Team 1 were trying to make those mid-round adaptations, and ultimately they did pull it out. That puts them on match point, so if they win this kitchen defense, then they'll be taking a regulation win against MIBR, and they truly will be the #1 Team 1.
MIBR maybe have something to say about that. Lukin certainly does, as he takes down Alamau. Often referred to as one of the star players on the side of Team 1. Being able to get rid of the mute here could be a huge early swing here for these attackers. Pressure going to be mounting elsewhere as Fowls gets himself up onto the roof, but for all intents and purposes isn't going to be doing anything active so far, aside from droning in his teammates, of which there are a lot of drones that are moving. There are only 4 drones left on the server, 3 as they continue to tick down. Now, we're not even at the halfway point. That's a boatload of information that has been left by this MIBR side so far, but they've also got quite a lot of access on into sight.
So far, Alamau's the only one who is missing from either of these teams. This time, MIBR haven't gone for the rush, which is kind of clear. Instead, Philippok's trying to move on forward, but he gets caught out by a goo mine and the toxic bait
How is
canister.
he still there?
He's still alive, but he's got to go for the plant. But look, these players from Team 1 trying to move on round. They get taken down by Falls, however. That's excellent cover from MIBR. Lagonis is just on a tiny sliver of health, and it does not last long. Philippox has another opportunity to go in for the plant, and it's pretty much all just Levy alone.
What can Levy do here? He's playing for 1 kill currently. He's playing for the kill on Blue Bar. He's going to find that kill over onto Blue Bar. Can he grab more? His teammate is down. Lagonis, unlikely to be revived, but it is a possibility. MIBR really not giving anything away here, as this is obviously for the round. Lagonis instead choosing to gain information. No, coming back to be revived. Not enough time now. Going to have to go for the swing. Philippox finds the final kill onto Levy. Fowls gets his just reward for the down earlier. Now MIBR hang in here for 1 more round.
One step closer to overtime. Honestly, Philippox got incredibly lucky in that round. The fact that he wasn't punished when he pushed into service. You know, the smokes that you throw out as an ace only last for so long. And as soon as he was massively held back by the goo mine and the toxic babe canister, I was wondering if those smokes were going to last long enough to keep him covered. But you know what did keep him covered? Falls. Jumping down and getting the kills required on those 2 members of Team 1 who were trying to rotate round to catch Philippox out from the other angle. Great kills. And without them, MIBR would have almost undoubtedly lost that round. But instead they didn't. And suddenly they had really good positioning, another lease of life, an opportunity to try and make the plant, which they successfully did. And Team 1 were basically left with just 1 guy remaining. Difficult position for Team 1, and really frustrating for them, I would imagine, that they couldn't win that one out, despite how much it looked like it was written on the walls that they could have won it earlier on in that round. It means that MIBR only need to take this next attack to send things into overtime, which is their only way to win at this point, but are Team 1 going to allow it?
Team 1 didn't look great last time, if I recall, on this site. We saw them get somewhat overwhelmed by MIBR. Because there was a really concise push of Hookador and Cool Vibe stairs. I think it was the round where the Ruins camera was left up as a default cam by MIBR. And we had kind of had a bit of a joke about that. But what didn't look fantastic from the side of Team 1. Early intel gathered there for fouls, likely not to come to much, but at least he knows that KDS is going to be playing inside of that theatre room. Plenty of vertical being held as well. You get the impression that Team 1 just want to try and finish it out here and now, because if this goes to OT, it seriously could go in either direction, and you've got to ask at that point, you know, which team can dig deeper, which team gets attack or defense first, and things start to become a little bit more unsure. ADS still being pressured. It's almost certainly going to get pushed sooner rather than later from that penthouse side.
Remember,
Ooh, there he is. He does get pushed.
I was going to say, remember it was KDS who walked into Penthouse early, or into Theatre on one of the earlier rounds and looked the wrong way. So maybe that's just his forever tomb. Levy does get a kill back onto Raps, however, evening out the man count as we head into the final half of the round. Alamount adding things. Oh, make that two, in fact, with the SMG-11. This is a player who's been showing up for Team 1, and this could be his time to shine. Only 2 players left of MIBR, that's Felipox and Lukid, and they've got all of this to go up against themselves.
Alamau has shifted the tide in a huge way there. Felipox is going to be able to get Sofa's wall open, but what are they really going to be able to do with it now? We've got Lukid at the bottom of Cool Vibe Stairs. These last 2 attackers are very split up indeed. Felipox going to gather some last-second information, but lines of sight are now being held. And the chance for plant going down is very slim indeed, although Iliads is fairly light of players. Lukid now going to make a rotation to join his teammate, or at least provide pressure from the same side, maybe getting himself onto 90. Waiting for the Toxic Babe canisters to dissipate. Of course, it is going to continue to burn the clock. Alamau looking at the long angle. He's got both 90 and the plant spot, or default plant spot, covered, should I say. He will find himself downed, however. It could be a big swing here, although he has used all of his Toxic Babe canisters. There's going to be information on Felipox pushing in, as there is going to be a Maestro Evil Eye. Smoke going to try and cover this plant, but time is getting slim. Felipox going for a non-default plant spot as Lukid tries to push on in. Neskin has the intel. He finds the kill. Levy the second, and Team 1 find themselves the game here on Coastline against MIBR, avoiding the overtime and securing those full points.
On both halves, crucially being able to pull themselves away from the clutches of MIBR. And as I said, they've proven that they are the #1 Team 1. The players who formerly represented their organization coming out on bottom for this game. Alamau and Levy really showing up, and Levy was that player who I said didn't necessarily have the best time in their first game of the day. He turned that around in this game and showed exactly what he could do, and as a direct result, Team 1 will be walking away with 3 points.
And it's huge to be able to pick up a performance like that and just to try and flick the switch, because we don't get to see teams playing 2 games in one day very often here inside of this stage. So to see Levy not kind of go from one extreme to the other, but go from, you know, not being the problem, but being a bit of the problem, to them being standout is just so heartwarming to see. And I'm sure that Team 1 are going to be thrilled with that one. We're going to get Jackie back in here, and he is going to help us break that one down, as I am sure somewhat excited to get into it. It's been a while for him since he'd done the LATAM stream. Here we go. We're back.
Yeah, mate. I'm hyped. At the end of the day, the thing is, I've had the pleasure of sitting here watching Team 1 play really well with one another, so that Team 1 could get a win in the best of 1, which is all that matters, really. That's all that I wanted, and that's what I got. And I've also got only one commentator that actually likes being around me, but that's fine, Ollie, because you're my favourite. But don't tell G.
Wow.
So anyway, that was a great game. Actually, like, quite a tight one. I liked what we saw there. Again, it actually felt like it was going to be a potential where we'd see a dominant first half that would start to swing away. A lot of fight from MIBR, some close rounds, but in the end, it feels like Team 1 just had that extra little bit of oomph to take it over the edge. Obviously, you know, first game of the day, Gio, right? Quite a few hours ago now, they had to come in. You had your opening bout versus Furia. I didn't know if they were going to have the steam in them, but I guess they found it to actually keep themselves warm.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be totally honest. To me, this game and the result of it actually transcends the scoreline, purely because you have to take into account the context of the fact that Team 1 narrowly missed out a T victory on the first game. MIBR came in fresh. MIBR are significantly further ahead than Team 1 in the leaderboard. There was really no excuse for MIBR to have had a hard game today, and yet Team 1 made it look not easy, but certainly equal, and they didn't come in on equal footing.
No.
I mean, there's kind of an argument that they came in on better footing though, right? Because teams will play like 3 scrims a day. And scrims are usually full games. It's not just like a normal game. I'm not entirely sure. Teams do it differently, dependent on region, but they'll often play like all rounds available in a scrim. So teams are used to playing a lot anyway. Team 1 essentially had a competitive match this morning, which they probably would have had a scrim for anyway. They've then maybe gone into a scrim before this game as well. So those guys are pretty hot. Like, they've been playing some pretty high-level Siege today. So I think that for them to come in, like, surely they've got, like, yeah, they might be a little bit fatigued and stuff, but they didn't show it. And MIBR looked cold in comparison to a Team 1 that looks pretty hot.
Yeah, no, that could be one of the deciding factors. I know we're attempting to get an interview set up with Chubbs as well, so once we get that sorted, I can pick his brains on that a little bit and see if he thought it was a hindrance or a helping, really, with the fact they had the back-to-back games today. But you're right, they made the best of the situation. They came in hot. It was interesting to see the drop-off between the players as well, right? Because obviously they were passing the baton between series. KDS looked good, then Alamau came in. It was a good display from the entire roster. Someone we didn't get to see on the surface, though, is Chubbs. We can have a word with him now and see how he's actually feeling off the back of what is finally their first win of the day. We'll get into it now and see exactly what he has to say for himself. How are you doing, brother?
Hey, hello. Glad to be here. Very happy with the result, actually.
I should hope so, man. Obviously, you know, in terms of the result for the day, 1 out of the 2 wins. You couldn't quite get the win with the Furia game. If you wouldn't mind, I'd like to start off there and then we'll work our way into this one, because that was quite a tight affair as well, right? Obviously, OT game to start off the day, straight away, first bout of the day, you had to get into it. And you really pulled your heart and soul into that. We saw KDS having a huge performance, but you just couldn't get it over the hurdle. To go from that to then having to wait until obviously the 4th game of the night, did it affect you mentally? Were you able to stay warm? What was the process like that for the squad?
Actually, since that we have received the schedule, we are preparing for this super week like since day 1. So we did not get exhausted. Yeah, we were complaining about because we would play like 2 games in a row, and it's really bad for you. Like, we lost to Furia, you know, a very stressful match, and we wouldn't have time to reset our minds and go for the next game. So, like, playing 2 hours later, it's okay, we are pros, so we don't have this kind of like problem. It's easier to have, like, when you have 2 hours to do. Hold on a second.
It's getting a bit rowdy. Calm it down.
Yeah,
calm it
a
down.
little bit. You're all happy because of this win.
That's fair play. They should be. They should be. It was a big win. It was. Can't tell them off too much. Yeah, this is actually a gigantic result to get in. Obviously, in terms of what we're working with here, I wanted to give a little bit of shout out to one man in particular as well. Alamau in this last map, 15 frags, putting up some big numbers. He had a huge performance. What have you been feeding him, perchance?
Actually, I think he's probably one of the best players in Brazil right now, and he also very young. He's probably the one who works the most here. Like, he's the last one to go to sleep. He's very focused on our goal, which is the invitation, of course. So, because we are a new roster with 5 new players and 2 new guys on the coaching staff, he took this to him like, okay, I need to work a lot more than everyone, and pull this out. So, he's just fantastic. He's a fantastic professional. Like,
and now he's just getting loud in the background.
Hold on a second again.
You can't. Don't worry about it. It's fine. It's fine. I won't keep you for too much longer. Let them enjoy the celebration. You should be too, brother, as it was a well-deserved one. I'll let you go a little bit quicker on this one. Before I do, though, Chubbs, obviously, mate, congratulations tonight. Big win out of the 2 games you had.
Thank you. I appreciate.
Any final words? Anything you want to say?
Just to say thank you to everyone who's cheering for us, supporting us. We know that we wouldn't be easy our first split because of all the new people, all the new roster thing, but we are working harder than every single team in the world. I can guarantee that. Like, no one in the world is working more hours, more and smarter than us. So we want to close this gap from the top tier teams as fast as we can get, focusing of course on the invitational. So I think this today was a huge win because of that. MIBR for me is the third best team in Brazil, and they'll still be the third best team in Brazil. And it's not because they lost to us; they aren't. So yeah, it's hard work pays off.
Absolutely, man. That's a beautiful sentiment, and genuinely, it comes across like it echoes everything you were saying there. So I wish you all the best. Hopefully, we get to see some more Team 1 wins in the future. But I'll let you go for now, Chubbs. Cheers for popping on, brother.
Thank you, everybody.
Oh, man. You see, what I liked there was two things. Firstly, that's how you can see that this man is in charge. The quick mute, the swift, come on, boys, calm it down, like instantly. Yeah, he was
like
on
a
it.
dad
The
controlling
double.
his kids.
I know, he went for the doubles. Like, do you remember, what was it, that BBC interview with the kid? The mum has to, like, rugby tackle two kids.
The guy's like little kid, yeah.
That's just him in the background, like, runs off mic, rugby tackles Ala, like, shush, boy. We're not done yet. More games.
Such a classic.
Madness. Second thing I really liked is just the sentiment, of course, you can see as well, right? Obviously, a team that is dedicated, they're putting a lot of time in. He was quite open and, you know, really wanted to share that, which is one of the nice things I think that we get, especially from the Brazilian region with the BR6. We get that bit more insight, especially for the English audience as well, right? Where sometimes we don't get to hear some of these voices, some of these players actually speak about how passionate they are about competing here. So it's really sick to actually hear him drop that.
Yeah. No, I always really like that. I love how willing they are, and we get such valuable info. I mean, like you said, we have been preparing for the Super Week since the very start, so we weren't tired, we weren't worn out, we were ready for this. And actually, you know, you think back on it and you look at their performance and you can see that it makes sense. You know, we speculated a lot on whether that was a problem for them because it's natural to assume, but you're never going to know until you actually hear it from someone in the team, whether that's a player or the coach. And in this instance, we had the coach provide that insight, and that's really valuable going forward.
Oh, absolutely. Ollie, what do you think, mate? What did you take away from that one? Or were you just getting some like dad tips for the future to be able to wrangle the kids?
It really was, wasn't it? It was like keeping control of the kids, or if you're maybe looking after some of your family friends' kids, it's like, yeah, you keep it down, keep it down. But
it felt like Tim was back for a second.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Tim's got that down to a T, I believe.
See, that was Milosh on EU for us. It's like Milosh was the dad who we were all the rowdy
Daddy
kids.
Milosh.
So, yeah. Oh, well, of course. Have you seen him?
I think to take it back to some sort of semblance of
Reel
Siege,
it in. Yeah.
I'm going to reel it right back in. I quite enjoy how Chubbs was saying that about how much work they're putting in, and that they've recognised that that's something that they've got to do, because they're obviously like a talented bunch, but fairly new coming together. And the fact that Alamau was putting so much time and work in really is coming to show.
I think another key point to take away is as well, right? Obviously, when I asked about Alamau, he put up some huge numbers there with 15 frags. He was saying how he thinks he is one of the best and that he can prove that. And he's working really hard to display that. Producer Simon's just been in my ear and said that statistically now he is currently our best rated player in the league. And we can have a look at that. As you can see, of course,
Ooh,
he's
step aside,
overtaken.
Palu.
Yeah, he's literally knocked basically the granddaddy of Brazilian Siege off the top spot.
I mean, actually, look, they are Drew. They're both on 75.
True.
So maybe it's just that Alamau begins with an A.
Oh, he's done him with the alphabet.
Yeah, if he was called Zalamau, be totally different.
That is true. Luckily, he's not.
That's how you know. See, we were saying how hard it is to say who's the best team in Brazil. It's the same for the players, but with the players, you just judge by the alphabetical order of their names.
I mean, it's not really a great surprise, is it? Because we saw what Paulu's performance was like today, and that's not to say that his rating was on a knife's edge. I think, according to this rating system, I believe he was like 6 numbers, whatever it is, 6 points ahead of Alamau at the start of today. Alamau's played 2 games today, and he's played pretty well in both of them. Paulu's had a bad game, so it kind of makes sense that we've sort of leveled things out somewhat, and Alamau's maybe edged for a time.
Ooh, hang on a minute. Having a look at this here. Producer Simon's just dropped like the scoop for the actual statistics, for the hard-hitting fans that want to know, actually looks like this has been slightly rounded, but Alamau is definitely ahead. Basically, if we bring this down, it is a 75 to a 74.
Wait, so it's 75.2903243724096, if anyone's interesed.
Well, you've got to do
Meanwhile,
Palu's as well now.
Palu, 74.590417545750
It's like you know that episode of the IT Crowd where they try and rebrand like the emergency services number. 01473926464.
You good? Are you good?
I am. IT Crowd is fantastic. Anyway, today's been fantastic. I've had a good time. Have you guys had a good time?
Yes, it's been interesting.
I've had a great time. I've loved it.
Good. See, Ollie gets into the spirit. He knows what it's like. I come back. It's like old school LATAM. We're rolling back the years. There's riddles. There's mushroom trivia. Ace isn't here for the mythical creatures, but it's all right because we've got Geo. There we go, getting them all in. Just
If they say I'm a diversity hire, that's exactly. I'm the token mythical creature.
maybe like a manticore would be quite good. They're pretty
What's
cool.
that?
I wouldn't worry. It's a scorpion, a lion, and something else. I think I can't remember the last
take
one. Is.
it.
Maybe a snake.
I'll take it.
Not sure. Let's have a look at the day as a whole. Let's recap this one before it gets any more lost into the mythological trivia. As of course, we have had a lengthy day. 4 best of ones, all of them pretty meaty, if I'm honest with you. A lot of OT tonight. We had a lot of great games as well. Didn't get 4 Oregon, which, you know, it's a shame. If we would have 4 games on Oregon, would have been over the moon. But for what we did get, we got a really great day out of this. So start with you, Gio, just in terms of your favourite moments from this one. What was the standout game?
Oh, I mean, Liquid Black Dragons. That is absolutely, hands down, one of the best games I've ever casted in my entire career. So, take from that what you will.
Oh, damn. That's a big statement.
Bold statement.
Yeah. Underlined as well.
I mean, I'm going to go equally as bold and say that if anyone is watching this VOD back and you've got all the way to the end, or if anyone has been with us since the beginning, you will remember that I actually said match 2 will be the one to watch. And I have been proved right in that, and I don't take any sort of enjoyment out of that. But on a real note, that was the game of the stage for me so far.
Yeah.
It was really good. I mean, to be honest, it's the only one I've been, so I'll take all the credit that I had some kind of effect on that. Yeah. So thank you, Ollie. It was a great game. I'm really proud of all the guys on the server and here in the virtual casting desk. Let's have a look at the standings and let's see how this has actually had a knock-on effect of higher league, because that's what this week is all about. And we can see the power shift already starting to happen. When we opened up tonight's stream, of course, Team Liquid was firmly in the #1 spot, unable to give themselves a good leg up in today's competition. They've been overtaken by FaZe Clan, Gio.
Yeah, I mean, these top 2 teams, constant backwards and forwards, it would seem, and it was really exciting when Liquid finally overtook FaZe, have failed to maintain that up there, and that's going to be something they need to bounce back from over the next couple of days, because look, they're both on 7th. It is literally just that FaZe's statistics, when you look at the the matches played, the round wins, everything like that, they slightly edge out, so it's very close between these two.
And then obviously towards the bottom of the pack here, Ollie, I was asking you before about some of the movement. We're seeing a little bit of a shift in the lower standings. I'm gonna give it to you, mate, and I'll ask you at the end of the week. I'll come back. I'll send you a little Twitter DM. Any big shake-up in the top 6? Anything unexpected you reckon's gonna happen?
I mean, the big unexpected thing is that Fury is currently in 3rd. Now, that's only unexpected based on performance last season and what we were expecting, but they've proved themselves worthy of that position at the moment. So that's really the big upset here, is that we're not seeing NIP in that top 6 currently. Now, NIP they've leveled out again now, because they had played an odd amount of games compared to everyone else, but there's only actually Team 1 and FaZe that have played 8 games. So everything else is getting fairly sort of regular between sort of positions 2 to 7. There's not a great deal in it aside from obviously that anomaly, which is Team 1 that have played more games than everyone else. So there's chance for Team 1 to get leapfrogged. There's chance for NIP to get themselves back in, but there's just not very many points in it between that 3rd and 7th spot.
Yeah. And obviously the reason why we're putting so much fixation here on that top 6 is because you need to be within that boundary to qualify to the Copa Elite Six, of course, to get yourself into the LATAM stage finals, to be able to go on to potentially get yourself etched in the history books of Siege, or else you're going to have an awful lot of time waiting on the bench for the competition to return next stage. So you need to get your socks pulled up and get your boots firmly tied, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah? I guess that would probably help with walking
Strapped
in general.
if you have a
wouldn't it?
problem with laces.
Or Velcro is always quite good.
Mm.
I suppose Velcros are straps, aren't they?
It's fine.
Either way, what a strapping day. There you go. Just cut it there, Simon. Just shut it down. But anyway, that's it. It's been the BR6. I've had a great time, to be honest with you. I've had a lot of fun, guys. It's been good sharing it with the both of you, listening to your voices throughout the entire day. Before we shut this one to bed and let Simon move on with his life and not have to deal with me for any more time than we have to subdue him to, any final thoughts on this one, Gio?
Wild day, and it makes me very excited for the rest of the Super Week. Let's be real. That's it.
Ollie?
Yeah, tomorrow and Sunday, get yourself back here. This is Super Week. And if you thought today's games were exciting, well, there are plenty more where they came from. And of course, a mini shout out to you as well, Jackie, for coming back onto the show. We really do appreciate it.
I loved it. I loved every minute of it. I wouldn't change it for the world. I'd sit here in the background of every show if I could, but apparently contractually it's not allowed anymore. Simon said something about it being too much of a work hazard environment. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, of course, today's first Playday. Friday of the Super Week. We have 2 more shows to go. It is going to be banging. Stick around as well for when we wrap up tonight's show, as there will be some highlights of all of the best plays throughout the day that you will want to catch. Of course, then we've got to give thanks to Ubisoft and Faceit for making this possible, producer Simon for pushing all of the buttons, and Jacob, the best replay op in the business, for providing the best replays in the business. It's kind of just what he does. Thanks so much for watching the show. We will be back on Saturday, except I won't be here. There'll be a slightly balder version of me that's really good at mythology and something else. So enjoy dealing with him. We'll see you later.
La voz ronca como Ñengo, pero los pastos bien duro como Sony le hizo a Nintendo. Quieren más, pero no son capaces de nada. Mantienen diciendo que lo que hay, y si yo les digo se asustan. Estar en la cima no es normal. La gente me odia porque soy original. Tanto falso que hay en esta humanidad. Yo los entiendo y sé por qué así están. Es que Supreme es tan high que no tiene ningún rival.
Todo pecho frío se cría en el río, teniendo lo suyo, enseñando lo mío. Ahí donde empiezan toditos los líos, porque se comparan con el Rey León. Cuando de off you on, yo no junto una canción. Tú Mercedes, yo tengo una parking en la colección.
Pero no son capaces de nada. Mantienen diciendo que lo que hay, y si yo les digo se asustan. Estar en la cima, llegó la meta. En bicicleta todos se creen esos poetas, porque han rimado calle con galletas. Si tú me das el gusto de ser el primero en hacer las cosas porque no tiene la actitud. No estoy pa' juzgar, tampoco estoy pa' pelear. Ya saben mi puesto y no lo podrán tocar. Quieren de lo mío, pero nada les voy a dar, porque he luchado mucho para llegar a este lugar. Quieren más, pero no son capaces de nada. Mantienen diciendo que lo que hay, y si yo les digo se asustan. Estar en la cima no es normal. Y pongan la mesa que ya son por ahí las 12. Así que los niños para el cuarto. El pay no tarda tanto, él solamente tiene que comer y ustedes no pueden ver.
Ustedes me aman con plata, después les espaldas pirata. Aquí no hay juego corbata y un poco de jeva pechata. Tú sabes cómo el veneno me sabe, mi hermana, de eso construyo mi sueño. Nadie me quiere ver bien, le digo aquí estamos todos muy bien.
Pero no son capaces de nada. Mantienen diciendo que lo que hay. cama no es normal. Y todos mis envidiosos, les va a llegar una carta de Papá Noel.
Ya no sabes lo que pasa. El primer verso, papi. Lo que manda aquí la clave. Este ritmo guaguanco. Esto es lo que existe. Y también está mi chamaco. Nadie nos resiste. Aquí estamos bravos. La chama tan brava. Esta vida es brava. Y yo también soy bravo. Por eso lo que repica son los cueros. Aquí lo que suena es fuego. Mueve la abuela el pescadero. Hasta lo mueve el aduanero. Norte al sur, lo vemos viendo. La orilla del mar, nos ve sonriendo. Y yo sé lo que tenemos no es para juego. Y esto divino. Por eso lo que hacemos quitar tu mano con ritmo le calera. Saben lo que pasa. Mi abuelita ahora tiene masa. Aquí lo que falta el cajón. En esta jungla soy el gran león. Armen las cosas en el malecón. Lo que gozamos es salsa y son. Ya saben lo que repica son los cueros. Tengo la clave, soy el suelo. Esta vida es fuego. Por eso quiero una vida suave, soy sincero. Que viva mi gente, que viva la raza. De noche a día aquí se trabaja. Igual la gozamos, bailamos en plaza. Viento y calidad pura en todas sus casas. Que viva mi gente, que viva la raza.